she would tell me all. As I've gotten older, affirmations have been so important. And as you just shared, that it's important that we don't let those naysayers get in our way. Sometimes we're our biggest naysayer. And we're looking right at ourselves saying, I don't know if you can do this. Don't we have to be our biggest advocate? You're the only person you're going to be with all the time. Being our biggest advocate, having that friend with us, having that individual we trust, that we know that we can believe in, is so key and so critical. So what I'd like to do to start today is to start by talking about you, from you to yourself. So could everyone stand really quickly? Let's talk about you. Everyone stand up. If you're at home, you're welcome to stand up or sit down, whatever we want to do. But we're going to do some I am statements together. So as you do this, you can keep your eyes open or closed, however you want to do it. But we're going to do some I am statements so that we can feel the power, that we can get prepared, and that we have the strength and the wherewithal to make the decisions that we need to in our life to have the best life possible. Would that be a good thing? Yes. Is that something you want? Yeah. All right, let's start with some I am statements. Repeat after me. And when you say it, believe it. I am confident. I am capable. I am strong. I am powerful.
Powerful.
You are. I know you are. Do you believe it? Sit back there. Thank you so much. That is incredible. Now, for those of you who have never done that before, and you've never had an opportunity to do affirmations, I encourage you to do your affirmations. Find the affirmations that will help you be that next level you want to be. If you say, I want, or I am a leader, do the things a leader does. Begin to believe in the things that a leader can do. So when it's time for each and every one of us to look in the mirror tonight, let's make sure that we look in that mirror and say, I put in every effort today. I did every single, I took every step that I needed to move myself forward. And in doing so, you will get the most out of today by preparing for that moment right now. Now, the rest of this day, we're going to be discussing leadership. We've got a few individuals that are going to be joining us that are going to create value and power for us. But we're going to be spending our time once again listening to Eric. And with Eric's guidance, no matter where you are at right now, there is a place for you to take next steps to improve. And there's no one that has a pulse on this entire environment like he does. So let's give another rousing round of applause for Mr. Eric Worre.
You guys ready to play? Just gonna play. Come on. I see some people I'm seeing people that say day 2 of Vegas. You don't know what Vegas does to a person on a Saturday night. Yes, I do. Crazy people. Sit down.
I did nothing.
Listen, first thing I want to say, we're gonna play all out today, yes? We're gonna be intentional today, yes? If our minds are busy, we're still full, we're still gonna be taking notes, yes?
Oh, you didn't
We're
see
not
that.
gonna be too cool not to take notes and trust our imagination, yes?
No, I probably still would trick because I'm this close.
Yes, come on.
Yeah, the Amy's not here, it's on fire.
Yeah, so
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm like, you're not gonna hurt me whether it's.
Don't trust your imagination, don't trust your mind. You know how much stuff I've worked with? Over the course of my career, you know how much? I got stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of notes, and every time I go through it, oh, that was good. I forgot that one. I forgot that idea, I forgot that strategy. Learn to collect ideas, learn to collect strategies, learn to collect wisdom, learn to collect language, learn to collect ideas on how to improve, get better, inspire somebody else. Pay attention to the words that work. Pay attention to the strategies that work. I want to pivot a bit right now because about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago exactly, I did an interview with Richard Branson. Mr. Branson, Sir Richard. So
Go ahead, get a
I'm
shower.
having this conversation with him,
Yeah, I'll let you know.
and he's on Necker Island, and I'm here in Vegas, and we're having this interview conversation. And I'm looking him in the eye, and I say, Sir Richard, for an entrepreneur to really capture the most out of this coming year, what must they do? What's the most important thing that they should pay attention to? And I expected all kinds of answers, but not the answer I got. He looks me dead in the eye, he says, an entrepreneur needs to be in the best physical shape possible. I'm like, what? How about mental shape? No. Best physical shape possible. And he said, here's what happens. He said, at a certain age, looking me dead in the eye, people either get in the best physical condition possible or they let themselves down. At that time, I'm 33% body fat, bloated, inflamed, still a bit bloated, inflamed. But I'm like, damn, all right. I guess that's important. We went down to Necker Island this last year. Maria and I, we spent a week with Richard in his home and hanging out. We've never seen anything like this guy. Multiple billionaire, runs all these different companies. He's physically moving while he's efficient. He is physically moving his body at least 4 hours a day. I was exhausted watching the guy. He's in his 70s. I'm tired. I'm too tired to get in the boat to sail around the island. And he's kite surfing next to the boat, sailing around the island. He's got tipsy tennis, and he's got, where the loser's got to take shots, and then he's hiking the island, and he's moving around, and he's doing all this stuff. He's got his shirt off all the time, just walking around doing his thing. I mean, dang it. Okay. Couldn't keep up at the time, but I'm closer to keeping up now. So I made a commitment, right? I'm still a professional before picture. I understand. I'm just telling you, progress, right? Made progress. Took my 33 down to like 21, 22. I'm committed to 15. I got to get under 15. They tell me that abs show up under 15. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. So I decided to take this seriously. Rita and I did the same thing. And we made a commitment to our health. We made a commitment to balancing all the things in our body. We made a commitment to learning more about this. And some of you are involved in the health business in one way, shape, or form. How many of you are involved in the physical health business in some way? Weight loss, whatever, something, nutrition. But even if you're not, for us to have a legacy, you've got to be able to have some vitality. You got to be able to lead by example. You got to be able to take charge of this. So we went through several different doctors, and we landed on a gentleman about, I'd say, 12 to 15 months ago. Changed the game for us. He's a human biologist, has the #3 podcast in the entire world currently. And he's helped many of my celebrity friends completely and totally revolutionize their health. He's here to share some wisdom with you virtually. I couldn't get him here in person, but virtually, he's here with you live to share exactly what you need to do and what you need to think about in order to change your whole fitness, health journey. Please welcome from Florida, my friend, the human biologist, Gary Brecka.
Gary Brecka.
Amazing, dude. And just as an adjunct to Eric, it's the #1 podcast in the world, the health and wellness podcast in the world. Love this story about Richard Branson. I had a chance to actually spend some time on Richard Branson's island, and I echo exactly what you're saying. I remember that I was there for a few days, and he said, if you want to set a meeting with me, there's 3 ways to have a meeting with me. We can meet over kite surfing, we can meet over cycling around the island, or we can meet over a 90-minute walk. And I chose the 90-minute walk and walk the island with him for 90 minutes, but I totally agree, spend 4 or 5 hours a day just moving his body. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gary Brecka. I'm a human biologist, a researcher. For 22 years, I was a mortality researcher for big life insurance. And what this meant was that the mortality team that I was on was charged with predicting life expectancy to the month. So we got 10 years of medical records on you, 10 years of demographic data. We could tell the insurance company how long you had to live to the month. And I get a lot of flack about that, especially when I get online or I get on a podcast. I get a lot of flack about that. People say, well, if you could predict mortality to the month, Jesus, you would have won a Nobel Prize. But the truth is, this is some of the most accurate science in the world. No other financial services company, no other financial services enterprise on the planet takes the level of risk that a life insurance company or annuity company does based on how many more months you have left on Earth. And if you want to know how accurate they are, just look at what happened during the 2008-2009 financial services crisis. We had 364 banks fail. We didn't have a single life insurance company fail. It is some of the most accurate science in the world because life insurance companies have data that no other financial services enterprise, no other medical enterprise, not even the federal government has. And that is that they know the day, the date, the time, the location, and the cause of death for 370 million lives. And I used to say that if the database that I had access to during that career could ever see the light of day, it would upend modern medicine in a way that would be catastrophic, absolutely catastrophic, because the data speaks for itself. You know, we knew that opioids have addictive properties 10 years before anybody was onto the opioid crisis. We know the trajectory of every pharmaceutical compound and its impact on hormone levels, on accelerating mortality. We know the impact of statins. We know the impact of cardiovascular medication. We know the impact of mental health medication, things like Adderall, Vyvanse, and Ritalin, and all sorts of other chemicals and synthetics and pharmaceuticals that we put into our body to solve one issue that actually have a negative outcome on the other side and have a negative impact on longevity. And so I was in this career for 22 years, just predicting death. And one of the sad things about being in that career was that I was not allowed to have any contact with the patient. I was not allowed to have any contact with the treating physician. Even if I saw a life-threatening drug interaction, I could not contact the patient. I couldn't even contact the treating physician to warn them. I just had to watch it happen. And I learned 2 things in this 22-year career. Number one, I really began to have this massive moral divide in how I was making a living. And I realized as time went on that this was not just data, that there was human beings on the other side of these spreadsheets. This was somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's sister, somebody's child. And I realized that, that the main reason why people are not living longer, healthier, happier lives was not because of the lack of pharmaceutical a lack of chemicals, a lack of synthetics. The reason why most people are not living a longer, healthier, happy life is because of what we call modifiable risk factors. And I started to manipulate my mortality model. And I would go into certain nutrient deficiencies that people had, and I would artificially correct a nutrient deficiency in their blood, for example, a vitamin D3 deficiency. And I would correct that deficiency and I would watch the life expectancy jump. I would see mild anemia in the blood work, and I would artificially correct it, and I would watch the life expectancy jump. And so after doing this for several years, I finally decided that I was not going to spend one more minute of my life predicting how long people are going to live and when they were going to die. And I was going to spend the balance of my lifetime helping people live healthier, happier, longer, more fulfilling lives. And so that's my purpose with you today, is that I know that this information needs to make its way to humanity, because I believe that if we build an army of like-minded people that are informed, that can go out and inspire people to make a change, then we can actually begin to transform lives, and we can take healthcare back under our own control. We can become citizen scientists for ourselves, and we can find the missing raw material in the human body. We can put that raw material back and we can watch it thrive. And I make two bold promises every single time that I take a stage, or I sit on a podcast, or I host a podcast, or I do an interview, or a stage talk, or anytime that I get a chance to speak to anyone, I make two bold promises. Number one, if you do what I'm going to discuss over the next 40 minutes and you put this practice into your life, I will add, or it will add 7 years to the lifespan of everybody in this room, everybody that is listening to the simulcast. And number two, before we're off this Zoom call, I will take any ailment that you or a loved one suffers from. I'm going to leave about 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. I will take any ailment that you or a loved one suffers from: ADD, ADHD, OCD, manic depression, bipolar, autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, any ailment that you suffer from, and I will tell you exactly what raw material is missing from that person's body that is causing that condition to exist. You see, we've been fed a lot of misinformation over the last few decades. And I don't want to get into a whole conspiracy theory, but I remember I spoke to a very large room full of board certified physicians, as far to the back of the room as I could see. And I asked this room full of board certified physicians, I said, by show of hands, how many of you right now are treating patients for genetically inherited disease? Genetically inherited diseases, things that run in families like hypertension, hypothyroid, drug and alcohol addiction, depression and anxiety, hypercholesterolemia, hypertriglyceridemia, all of these conditions that we've been told, because they run in families, are genetically inherited conditions.
I didn't know I did that. Sorry.
That was sick, except every single physician's hand in that room was up. And I said, well, keep your hands up for a second, because understand, if you're treating patients for genetically inherited disease, we have mapped the entire human genome. We know every gene in the human body. Can any of you tell me what gene causes any of those diseases? And every single hand in the room went down. And I said, the reason why you can't tell me what gene causes any of those diseases is because that gene does not exist. And if that gene does not exist, that means that those diseases.
Hi, how are
You see what happens in human beings, is we put all kinds of raw materials into our lives, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, nutrients of all kinds.
5 in the morning, he goes going to the emergency room and he said, no. I still may want you to talk to
That we
him.
put it in.
And I
Without
I
a single
texted
exception,
first
what the body
thing
does is
he called
it
me
takes
and
that
says,
raw material, that
"No, you're
nutrient, that
kicking
vitamin,
this
that
back to the
mineral, that
gates of
amino
hell.
acid.
You're gonna be
and
all right."
it-
So
Well, you need
If
somebody
you're
here
talking
though.
to me,
Is that, oh, no, absolutely. Is that one comfortable, or
and it
do
is
you want
this
to set the couch?
deficiency
this is fine.
that
I like
leads to
how
some of
you-
the most common ailments that
Are you sure? I don't want to
everything from weight
regulate
gain
you.
and
No, I'm
hypertension
great.
to
Thank you.
autoimmune
Yeah.
conditions to gut issues to poor focus and concentration. We don't have a mental
Oh,
health issue, and I mean
No, this part is for everybody.
a mental
It's just earlier.
health
for you,
crisis
girl.
in this country. We have a lack
He's talking
of
about
mental
health.
fitness.
And you said
And so
kids
my
can tell
mission is
you
to get the
what
message out
mineral
that
your
there are
body's
simple
missing
raw
based on
materials
what
that
ailment you
can
have.
put back into the
So
human
we
body
can
that will
put in the
cause it
comments
to
anything you
thrive in
want.
ways we never
If you want
thought
to-
possible. God put us on this planet to
I'm
have it all.
sure.
We were meant to thrive. And most people are walking around right now at about 60% of their true state of knowledge. And I'm gonna prove that to you over the next few minutes, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what we can do to put these raw materials back into their bodies so they can thrive in ways we never thought possible. And I want you to think about your questions about what are you facing, or what is someone that you love facing right now that they're struggling with, that we could go into their body and replace a raw material and watch that condition eviscerate. So are you guys ready to go on this journey with me? I can't hear you, so I assume it's yes. Can we go to the next slide? This is just a sample of a life expectancy report that we used to do. This is, again, some of the most accurate science in the world. We had a better than 90% accuracy rate in predicting mortality. It's astounding what happens to human beings when their bodies are missing certain raw materials, and you can predict the progression of the disease. Can you go to the next
Night or
slide?
whenever you've been putting the link, so.
So this is another thing that I say every single time that I get a chance to engage with the audience.
We'll make sure we
This is
get
the
it.
most important thing. This is the
Yeah.
most important sentence that you will hear for the rest of your lifetime in terms of its impact on how many more years you have left on Earth, waking energy, your sleep, your hormone levels, your water retention, your weight gain, your response to exercise, your delta wave of sleep, your cognitive function, your short-term recall, and that is that the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. Nothing is more true than that statement. And we're going to talk about how do we get more oxygen into the body? How do we better utilize oxygen in the body? What can we do to carry more oxygen in our blood? What are some of the supplements and nutrients we can put into our body so we have healthy red blood cells full of hemoglobin that transport healthy amounts of oxygen? And we're going to talk about how do we raise the oxidative state in the body by 35 or 40% over the next few weeks by using simple raw materials to help our bone marrow produce healthy red blood cells that carry and transport oxygen well. And again, the presence of oxygen really truly is the absence of disease. Can we go to the next slide? I made my bold promise already. I make this every time I take the stage, that if you do what I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to add 7 years to the lifespan of everybody in this room. And that secondly, we will take any ailment that you or a loved one suffers from, and I will tell you exactly what raw material is missing from their body that is causing that condition to exist. And for those of you that are in the supplement space or the keto space or the nutrition space, bravo for you, because it's going to take an army of people to take healthcare back. Human beings are not as sick or diseased as we think we are. We are nutrient deficient. You know, I remember when I was in grad school getting my second human biology degree, I had to take all these plant botany courses, which I actually really hated, but you have to take them. And I was in school getting a graduate degree in human biology, and I had to take these plant classes. But what I remember most of all from studying plants was that anytime there was something wrong in the leaf or the trunk or the branches of a tree, if you called a true arborist, a true botanist out to your house, they wouldn't actually touch the leaves of the tree. The first thing they would do is they would core test the soil. And they would say, you know what, there's no nitrogen in the soil. And they would add nitrogen to the soil and the leaf would heal. But you know, we've stopped thinking about human beings this way. We think that we need chemicals and synthetics and pharmaceuticals. We think that if somebody has high blood pressure, they're missing a beta blocker, or if they have ADHD, they're missing Adderall and amphetamine, or if they have high cholesterol, they're missing a statin to keep that cholesterol under control. And none of that is true. When you give the human body the raw material it needs to do its job, magic things happen in human beings. And I'll prove this to you because I know that we have a room full of hard-charging entrepreneurs, and I would love to be able to, I think I can see the audience, to say by show of hands, how many of you either know somebody or are currently suffering from ADD or ADHD? Oh, I see a lot of hands up there. So let's just take that one for example. Attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is not an attention deficit at all. It's an attention overload disorder. It is too many windows open at the same time. And why does this happen? Because when the body gets deficient in very specific B vitamins, the complex of B vitamins, and a very specific nutrient called methylfolate, you may want to write that down. Methylfolate is the converted form of folic acid. So when our body gets deficient in something called methylfolate, it has a very difficult time breaking down neurotransmitters. Remember, in the human beings, we don't just create thought, we also dismantle thought. We actually break thought down. And if we're not able to break thought down at the rate that we create thought, then the mind gets very clouded. You see, people with ADD or ADHD do not lack the ability to pay attention. They lack the ability to pay attention to so many things. And so how do we correct that? We put the methylated nutrients back into the human body that are grossly missing from our diet because our soil is so depleted, because it's so full of glyphosates, it's so full of pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, on all kinds of preservatives. We put the methylfolate back into the body so that it can properly start to degrade neurotransmitters. And this is where magic things happen. You see, in 1993, the US federal government signed a deal with Big Pharma to spray our entire grain supply in the United States with folic acid. And for the record, folic acid, contrary to popular belief, is not a natural vitamin. You cannot find folic acid anywhere on the surface of the earth. Folic acid does not occur naturally in nature. We make it in a laboratory. And you will never convince me that something that is man-made in a laboratory is a nutrient that is essential to optimal health. And so what happened when we started spraying all grains, all white flour, all white rice, all white bread, and every kind of cereal produced in the United States with this chemical folic acid? By the way, we don't call it sprayed with folic acid. We call it fortified or enriched. When you spin around a box of crackers or something that contains white flour or white rice, white bread, white pasta, and you look at the back of that label and it says fortified or enriched, that means it's been sprayed with the chemical folic acid. And what happens when we put this chemical into our bodies? Well, 44% of the world's population has a gene mutation called MTHFR. I'm not going to tell you what the nickname is for that gene mutation. You write it down, figure it out for yourself. But they have this gene mutation that does not allow them to make this conversion. And so what happens? Well, now I have the presence of something my body can't process and a deficiency in a nutrient that my body desperately needs to degrade neurotransmitters. And what happens? Hyperactivity, hyperexcitation. If you have a child that eats breakfast in the morning and then it's a full contact sport to get that kid into the car to go to school in the morning, and then you get the calls coming home from the school saying little Johnny can't pay attention, he's disruptive, he doesn't follow his instructions, he doesn't complete assignments. You need to strip the folic acid out of that child's body, add something called methylfolate to their diet, or add a supplement with methylfolate in it. If you guys are part of a company that is producing methylated vitamins, bravo for you. And watch what happens to that child's behavior over the next 7 days. The same is true in adults. You know, a massive issue that we have in the United States is more than 62% of Americans report that they suffer on a regular basis from anxiety. How many of you actually either suffer from anxiety or know somebody that is suffering from anxiety? Like, look at the number of hands that are up in the room.
Going over everything.
What is anxiety? Like, I know it's a fear of the future. It's the sensation of the presence of a fear without the actual presence of a fear. But what causes it? Why does our body feel anxious? Why can we feel fear without the presence of fear? Well, if we go through a little bit of human physiology for a second, and we understand that as sophisticated as we'd like to think our brains are, it's really not. The brain is very primal. You know what the brain cares about? The brain cares about survival. And by the way, the brain is very nasty. The brain is like the little Kim Jong-un of dictators. It sits up here and it literally takes everything for itself. If it wants calcium, it'll leach it from the bones. If it wants amino acids, it'll strip it from the muscle. What the brain wants, the brain gets. If it wants sugar, it will activate a receptor on the back of the tongue called the RF1A2 receptor, and it will give you a dopamine reward for giving it sugar. This is why most people don't like sugar. They are addicted to sugar. They are addicted to the endorphin dopamine reward that they get from eating sugar. This is also why if you chemically broke down most artificial sweeteners, you'd see that only 12% of the chemical is designed to taste sweet. The other 88% of the chemical is designed to bang the dopamine receptor so that you get addicted to that artificial sweetener. There are entire labs, I'm not exaggerating, all over the world full of PhDs researching these receptors on the tongue that connect to dopamine receptors in the brain so they can hammer these receptors so that you get addicted to certain foods. This is by design, not by accident. So those of you that are suffering from ADD or ADHD, I mean, suffering from anxiety, or you know somebody that's suffering from anxiety, I want you to ask them these 3 questions. And we are going to prove at the end of these 3 questions that this is a nutrient deficiency and it is not coming from their outside environment. It is coming from their physiology. So the first question you ask them is, have you had this, have you had anxiety on and off throughout your entire lifetime? They're going to say yes. The second question you ask them is, can you point to the specific trigger that causes it all the time? And they're going to tell you no. Sometimes I can just be sitting, at dinner with my family. I can be driving home from work on an otherwise innocuous day, and I can be overwhelmed with anxiety. Well, how does that happen? Because anxiety, and by the way, the third question is, if you've ever tried anti-anxiety medications, did they work? They're going to say no, they just made me feel like a zombie. Right? You can tranquilize somebody into submission, but it doesn't remove that feeling of anxiety. So what truly is anxiety? It is a rise in the brain of a category of neurotransmitters called catecholamines. Catecholamines is a class of neurotransmitters that cause a fight or flight response. These are epinephrine, norepinephrine, ephedrine, and adrenaline, which we also call adrenaline, and dopamine. So what happens when these begin to rise? So for example, let's just say that you drove home tonight and you got out of the car and somebody was standing in front of you with a knife. A very real fear. You would actually flood the brain with catecholamines, your pupils would dilate, your heart rate would increase, your extremities would flood with blood. You would begin to have a fight or flight response. But you could be laying, I'm on the 30th floor of a condo right now. You could be laying on the 30th floor in bed on the 30th floor of a condo, and you could start thinking about getting eaten by a shark. And the chances of a shark getting out of that ocean and coming up that elevator are 0, but you can have the exact same response. So how is it that my body can experience fear and react to fear that's not even present? It's entirely imagined. This is the genesis of anxiety. And so what happens is, in the human mind, we don't just create thought, as I explained, we also dismantle thought. We don't just enter a mood, we dismantle moods. So as catecholamines rise in the brain, we get the sensation of fear without the presence of a fear. Methylfolate, the complex of B vitamins, an amino acid called trimethylglycine, and an amino acid called SAMe, S-adenosyl methionine. These are the deficiencies that make it very difficult for people to dismantle catecholamines. And as they rise, they feel anxious and they enter the motion of anxiety. You see, when the body is able to degrade catecholamines, we feel very balanced. We have our mood is normalized. This is the same thing in depression. We define depression, ironically, in the United States, we define depression as an inadequate supply of serotonin. So according to modern medicine, if you are low on serotonin, you are by definition depressed. Well, wouldn't you think if the definition of depression is low serotonin, that the fix would be to raise serotonin? Well, that's not what we do. We take people that are low on serotonin and we put them on something called an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And what this does is it rations what little serotonin you have. So by definition, it never raises serotonin. So by definition, it never ends depression. You see, if I can get you to subscribe to the fact that you have a disease, I can get you to subscribe to a lifetime of medication. And so what happens is, why does serotonin get low? Well, first of all, 90% of the serotonin in your body is right here. It is made in the gut. It is made through the process of methylation, and it requires methylfolate. It requires a B vitamin called methylcobalamin, not the cyanide-based form of B12, cyanocobalamin, but it requires a light metal called methylcobalamin in order to actually methylate these neurotransmitters. We take an amino acid called tryptophan and we methylate it into the neurotransmitter serotonin, and then it goes up into our brain and creates a mood. Well, if you don't have it here, you can't have it here. This is why depression rarely begins in the outside environment. It almost always begins in your physiology. If you saw the trajectory of what happened with Dana White and some of the other clients that I've worked with that are very public in the domain that were suffering for decades with high blood pressure, We started to dig into what nutrient deficiencies were gone from their body. Do you know that 85% of all hypertensive diagnoses, meaning diagnosis of high blood pressure, are what we call idiopathic, meaning they're of unknown origin. So 85% of all people diagnosed with high blood pressure, the physician that's diagnosing it has no idea what's causing it. In fact, those people with high blood pressure have a normal EKG. They have a normal EEG. They have normal heart and lung sounds. If they've ever had one, they have a normal cardiac catheterization. They have normal dye contrast studies. So why is their blood pressure up? And why, if we can't find anything wrong with the heart, do we medicate the heart? Why do we accuse an organ of a crime that it's not committing? Well, if we look at what happens outside of the heart, all human beings have an amino acid in our bloodstream. It's called homocysteine. You may want to write this one down too if you loved one suffers from high blood pressure. It's called homocysteine, HOMOCYSTINE, homocysteine. Everybody that's listening to this right now has this in their blood. But if you have a deficiency in certain nutrients, your body does not break homocysteine down. And this amino acid rises in the blood. What happens when this amino acid rises in the blood? Well, as it's cruising by the inside lining of the artery, it irritates the artery. And when you irritate an artery, do you know what it does? It clamps down. And if you make the pipes smaller in a fixed system, pressure goes up. And the pressure doesn't rise because there's something wrong with the heart, and yet we still stand on the heart with beta blockers and calcium channel blockers and diuretics, which is why people's blood pressure never gets better. It just gets more medicated because there's nothing wrong with the heart in many cases. It's the vascular system clamping down. You have 63,000 miles of blood vessel in your body, 63,000 miles. It does not take much arterial narrowing to drive pressure up. And if you watch what happened to Dana White or some of these other clients, we put them on a simple amino acid called TMG, trimethylglycine. You can get it at GNC. Many of you that are in the supplement space, your companies might produce this amino acid. And you can take this amino acid, you can lower homocysteine, you can return the vascular laxity to the arterial system, that and something called resveratrol. And if you took resveratrol and trimethylglycine and watched your homocysteine drop and watched the vascular system relax, you would see pressure very often return to normal. And I could just keep going and going and going, and we could go through all of these different ailments that society faces. And so many of us are just accepting things as a consequence of aging. Oh, I've got weight gain, I've got water retention, I've got hormone imbalance, I got poor focus and concentration, I've got a little bit of ADD, a little bit of ADHD. You know, my waking energy is not the same. My response to exercise is not what it was. And we just accept these as a consequence of aging, and they are not a consequence of aging at all. They are a consequence of missing raw material in the human body. And that is my mission, is to try to go into human beings and find the missing raw material and replace it so that we can thrive in ways we never thought possible. We'll go to the next slide.
I'm over Christmas Eve service.
This is just a little bit about my morning routine. People ask me all the time, what do you do in the morning? By the way, none of this will cost you a dime. This will cost you zero. The majority of the room will not take this advice and put it to practice, because aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. And we pursue comfort more aggressively than we pursue a state of optimal health. We have to stop thinking about stress in the body as being negative. The body has a response mechanism called hormesis. When it's stressed, it strengthens. Do you know if you don't tear a muscle, it won't grow? If you don't load a bone, it will not strengthen. And if you don't challenge the immune system, it will weaken. We are seeing, coming out of the pandemic, the consequences of a globally weakened immune system. And I'm not trying to make a political statement. I get a lot of feathers ruffled when I say this, but the worst thing that ever happened to humanity was residential quarantining, masking, and social distancing. Taking human beings out of contact with other human beings. When we are meant, God gave us an immune system for a reason. When we shut that immune system down and came out of the pandemic, what is happening now? all kinds of nonsense. Monkeypox. Anybody heard of monkeypox before the pandemic?
I don't either.
We're on our 8th iteration of Omicron, meaning the 8th mutation of a COVID variant. We're on our 7th booster right now.
Don't.
And by the way, I'm gonna go down that road. I'll split the audience in half, but I did an entire talk a few months ago on long COVID and vaccine injury. And let me tell you, those two names are superimposable. There's no difference between long COVID and vaccine injury. And if you want to talk about how we can get the spike protein out of the bloodstream, I'll tell you exactly how we do that with nattokinase and bromelain and thymulin, and we can get the consequences of these messenger RNA experiments out of our bloodstream and restore our vascular system back to a state where it can naturally exchange with its outside environment. You know, when you take a synthetic message, and when you take a message that our DNA normally sends into the cell, an instruction called messenger RNA, and you create a synthetic copy of that, without understanding that messenger RNA in a cell lasts 2 hours and synthetic messenger RNA lasts forever, then you don't understand what chemical messaging can do to a human being. And so anytime that we start to toil with Mother Nature, we get the consequences of that down the road, which is why you see, and during my career, I saw so many revolutionary drugs then get pulled from the shelves 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road when the real research came out on the damages and the long-term consequences, when most people were actually just suffering from nutrient deficiencies. You know that 85% of dark-complected Latinos, African Americans, Indians, Middle Eastern, dark-complected populations are clinically deficient in vitamin D3, the single most important compound in the human body. 50% of the world's population is clinically deficient in this nutrient. And what happens when we get deficient in vitamin D3? Well, first of all, it's the only vitamin that a human being can make on our own. So there's hundreds of vitamins in your bloodstream right now. You're only capable of making one. And it's vitamin D3. So just think for a second how important that must be to human function. Every single cell in your body has a receptor site for this nutrient. The truth is, most of us are not getting enough sun. It's not that we're getting too much. We're not getting enough sun. We are photovoltaic beings. When we get into the sun, we take cholesterol and sunlight, and we make this amazing compound called vitamin D3. If you're not supplementing with vitamin D3, you should be 5,000 IUs a day with 80 micrograms of K2. Because what happens when you start to deplete vitamin D3? You know, I'll tell you, in my career, I saw thousands and thousands of times people with a clinical deficiency in vitamin D3 will eventually present with rheumatoid arthritis-like symptoms. Now, I'm not saying you have rheumatoid arthritis. I'm saying the symptoms between D3 deficiency and rheumatoid are parallel. So what happens? You wake up sore and achy in the morning, like you had a workout the night before when you haven't. The soles of your feet are tender when you get out of bed to walk to the bathroom and take your first piss in the morning. Or I mean, say urine for the first time. So you go to the bathroom and to urinate, the soles of your feet and your ankles are sore. And then it moves to your knees and your hips and your low back. And pretty soon, like, it actually hurts to make a really tight fist. You walk into the wrong physician's office and give them that sequence of symptoms, they're gonna say, you know what? You got rheumatoid arthritis.
Here's a drug.
Good news is I'm gonna hit you with some high-dose prednisone, and then I'm gonna put you on something called a corticosteroid. And you're just gonna take this corticosteroid for the rest of your life, and you're not gonna feel the pain from this. Now, remember, this is a deficiency in vitamin D3. You've now been diagnosed with a condition that you do not have. And if you don't think that this is occurring, you need to look at the 2016 Harvard University study that determined that modern medicine, medical error, misdiagnosis is the third leading cause of death. Only cancer and cardiovascular disease kill more people than modern medicine. And that is a fact. That study, by the way, was repeated in 2019 by Johns Hopkins, and the study got worse. So they didn't publish the Hopkins study, they published the Harvard study. And it said that medical error was the third leading cause of death. And I would see this come across my desk all the time. I would just want to pick up the phone and tell this lady, oh my God, just take vitamin D3, get off of the steroid. Because we knew in the mortality space that if you started corticosteroids, you had exactly 6 years and 1 day until you were having a joint replacement. It was that accurate. It was so accurate that if you were a 60-year-old female and I saw that you were misdiagnosed with rheumatoid, and you were put on a corticosteroid, I would artificially advance your age 6 years and 1 day, and I would schedule the joint replacement for you. And then as soon as I scheduled the joint replacement, I would begin to reduce what's called your ambulatory profile, how much you move and ambulate, how well you're moving around. You know that sitting is the new smoking. Sedentary lifestyle is now the leading cause of all-cause mortality. So as I reduced your mobility, I would bring in all of the diseases that exacerbate with reduced mobility. And all of a sudden, you were succumbing to a disease that you never would have had because you had a surgery that was not required, because you were diagnosed with a condition you did not have and put on a
I mean,
pharmaceutical.
if it's way too strong for you guys, because I
Because you had a nutrient
drink
deficiency.
mine like, wow,
And I think
but I didn't mean to.
thousands literally of examples like this. And this is why we need to be citizen scientists and take healthcare back into our own hands.
Let's
Right?
go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not anti-modern medicine. Look, if I get in a car accident or I have chest pain, I'm going to the ER. And I want everything they have. I want painkillers, I want a surgeon, I want someone stitching up my wounds. But putting the condition of humanity's state of optimal health into the hands of modern medicine is a mistake that we have learned
Is that
from.
what they said?
And we need to take that mistake back. And we need to educate ourselves.
Picture
and
that
we can
somebody-
go out and inspire other people to make a transformation in their life. And so some simple things that I do, you know, as I travel the world, and I meet with some of the best anti-aging experts, the lead PhDs and MDs and researchers in the field of anti-aging and longevity and optimization. You know, what's fascinating to me is that all of this science is just getting back to the basics. Sunlight, grounding,
Come on.
breath work, exposing our body to cold temperatures, supplementing for deficiency, not just the sake of supplementing, and eating whole foods, not whether or not you're vegan or vegetarian or paleo or keto, eating whole real foods, because it is not the food in those cases, it is the distance from the food to the table that harms us. So when people ask what I do in the mornings, this is what I do in the mornings. You know, we get 3 things from Mother Nature, let's not forget. Okay, there are 3 things that we get from Mother Nature. We get magnetism from the earth, we get oxygen from the air, and we get light from the sun. The less of those 3 things we get, the more sick we become. We were meant to spend 85% of our time outdoors. Now the average human spends 97% of their time indoors. We control our air temperature, we control our water temperature, we control our environment, we control our light, we control our darkness. We go from a covered house to a covered garage to a covered car to a covered office to a covered mall and right back. And so in the mornings, what I do, and this won't cost you a single cent, is I get outside and I come in contact with the surface of the earth. This is called grounding or earthing. And if you poo-poo this concept, you haven't really researched earthing or grounding. Human beings build up a charge, and we can actually discharge into the earth. Yes, as soon as we contact the surface of the earth, and I'm talking about dirt, grass, sand, we actually discharge into the surface of the earth. And what does that do? It changes the polarity on the surface of our cells so that they're no longer attracted to each other. When they get in proximity to each other, they repel. And you see these microscopes behind me right here? I do this for clients all the time. I take their finger, I prick their finger, I put a drop of their blood on that slide, and I let them see the red blood cells, how clumped together and stuck together they are. And then I take them outside and I just have them spend 6 minutes touching the surface of the earth, or I lay them on something called a PEMF mat, pulse electromagnetic field mat. And then I prick their finger again and I put it on the slide and I let them see how all of the red blood cells are free floating and cannot come in contact with each other. And you free up all that surface area to exchange with the outside environment. So that cell can eliminate waste, repair, detoxify, and regenerate. And this is part of the essence of health. And then I expose my skin to sunlight. And I try to get as much skin as I can exposed to sunlight. I try to do this at what's called first light, because the first 45 minutes of the day, God gives us a very, very special type of light. There's no UVA, there's no UVB rays in this light. Natural healing rays to blue rays from the sun. It generates vitamin D3, resets our cortisol receptors, it resets our melatonin receptors. And I do 3 rounds of 30 breaths of obnoxiously deep breaths, breath work with a breath hold in between. If you want to see the exact routine, I have a website called theultimatehuman.com. You can actually go there. I have all kinds of tutorial videos on breath work. It will add 0 to your budget and it will add years to your life. Learning how to breathe, how to expose our skin to sunlight, and how to get grounded again. And then I have a cold plunge. I get into a cold plunge, but if you don't have a cold plunge or it's not in the budget, just take a cold shower. Most of us aren't even willing to take a cold shower because it's too uncomfortable, but 3 minutes to 3 minutes in cold water, we're going to activate brain fat and improve your mood, helps make your emotional state, some endorphins into your system. It will cause your liver to release something called a cold shock protein, which will scour your blood of free radical oxidation. It will increase the rate of protein synthesis, muscle repair, and it is free. And you have access to this every single day. Putting yourself in that uncomfortable position for 1 to 3 minutes can be one of the most liberating things that you do. And then I supplement for deficiency. Those of you that are in the supplement state, space, bravo. As long as your nutrients are methylated, you have the methyl form of these nutrients, you are having a massive impact on humanity. Can we go to the next slide?
I think we might be on the right.
So we have something called the superhuman protocol. I talk about this all the time. A superhuman protocol is a PMF mat, an oxygen bag, and a red light therapy bed. That will cost you about $150,000. You don't need to spend $150,000. God gives this to us every single day.
Right.
Sunlight, grounding, and breath work. You save $150,000 by exposing your skin to sunlight, learning to do 8 minutes of breath work in the morning, Wim Hof style of breath work in the morning, touching the surface of the earth and taking a cold shower. It will entirely change the trajectory of your life. You'll ignite this hermetic response side of your body. In fact, would you guys like to do a quick little round of breath work right now?
Let's do it, right?
Can we do that? Like,
Do the
how
breath
many people
work.
are in the room? Like 400 people? All right, let's do one round of breath work. Let's make everybody outside the room think this is a giant cult. All right, so what we're gonna do, let's just sit comfortably. Put your hands on your lap. And what I want you to do, we're gonna do 5 deep breaths with a breath hold. And then we're going to do another 5 deep breaths with a breath hold. So it looks like this. We're going to take an obnoxiously deep breath in. And when I mean obnoxious, I mean like you've been underwater for 2 minutes and you just broke the surface of the earth. I mean, the surface of the water, and you never thought you were going to get another breath. Right? I want to get down into the lobes of the lungs. I want to use the diaphragm to sit with the intestines. I want to engage all the auxiliary muscles of respiration, the intercostal. So it's going to look like this, and then we'll do it together. You're going to take an obnoxiously deep breath like this. And then you're going to let it out. Don't continue to breathe out. Just let it out until you relax. Okay. We're going to do that 5 times. On the 5th breath, we're going to exhale, and we're going to hold our breath for 30 seconds. If you get lightheaded, this is a good sign. If your fingers and toes get tingly, this is a great sign that the oxygen tension is changing in the tissue. The major vasodilator in the human body is not nitric oxide, it is carbon dioxide. By raising our carbon dioxide level, we will dilate our blood vessels, and then we're going to take an obnoxiously deep breath in. We're going to hold that for 10 seconds. We're going to let it out, and we're going to repeat it. Okay, you guys ready?
Ready.
All right, so let's do 5 obnoxious breaths. Ready? Just close your eyes and we're going to try to sit here for 30 seconds.
We hold your breath.
If you got lightheaded, you had a very high level of carbon dioxide in your blood. All right, we're going to take a deep breath in. Ready? We're going to hold this for 10 seconds. And we're going to let it out. Okay. And we're going to do one more round of 5 deep breaths, followed by a breath hold and an obnoxious inhale. All right, ready? Here we go. Sit here for 30 seconds. We're gonna take an obnoxiously deep breath in. Ready? We're gonna hold this for 10 seconds. And we're gonna let it out. But I want you, whoo, I feel great. I want you guys to feel better now.
Yeah, I got my-
You know, have you ever seen somebody that cannot maintain an elevated emotional state? You ever wonder why some people just walk around kind of happy all the time, and some people only access happiness, elation, passion, joy, and arousal for short periods of time? Well, let me tell you something about human physiology. You see, if you were to ask me, Gary, what is a mood? What is an emotional state? I would tell you that it is a collection of neurotransmitters bound to oxygen. You see, the difference between elevated emotional states and suppressed emotional states is the presence of oxygen. Do you know that the difference between anger and passion is one neurotransmitter and the presence of oxygen? Do you know that every elevated emotional state that a human being can experience, passion, elation, joy, arousal, libido, all the hell yeah, I won the lottery emotions, they all have oxygen as a part of their molecular structure. You cannot experience them without oxygen. Can you experience anger? Yes. The reason why no human being has ever woken up laughing is because we don't have the oxidative state to experience laughter.
Wow.
But can you wake up angry?
Yeah.
Yes. You want to do a fun little experiment tonight? Wait until your spouse is deep asleep and give them a nice deep pinch. Just grab some skin and give them a good pinch and watch them wake up angry. Instantly. We have rarely accessed these lower states of emotion. Anger, despair, jealousy, resentment, these are easy emotional states for us to access. Passion, elation, joy, arousal, these require physiology to get there. And a lot of people search for that emotional state, and they wake up in gratitude, and they read the right books, and they go to the right seminars, and they try to get in the right rooms, and they try to change their emotional state without changing their physiology, and it fails over and over and over again. Your physiology will drag you down into the state where it most comfortably exists. So can we go to the next slide? So I'm gonna try to I don't know how much time you have left of the timer. So if I start going over my time, just do the old fish hook and yank me off the stage.
Oh, no.
So I want to talk a little bit about the physiology of the brain, because I want to kind of bring all of this together and tell you what this means to us as we're trying to go out and build a career. We go to the next slide. MIT did an amazing study a few years ago. They published a study in 2016. It was on the neurophysiology of the brain. And what they found, and there are no exceptions to this, is that there is a center in the brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is a very special area of the brain. It's about the size of two egg horns, about the size of two almonds. And in this area of the brain, we experience all of our emotions. So if you're excited, you're excited in the amygdala. If you're angry, you're angry in the amygdala. If you're aroused in the amygdala. So this is the emotional center of the brain. Can we go to the next slide? The interesting thing about the amygdala is that it is the sole gateway to the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is where our memory is stored. There is only one way for a human being to access their memory, and it is through their current emotional state. Now, once you reach the amygdala and you access the memory, can we go to the next slide? Our conscience, our prefrontal cortex, pulls from the hippocampus. It pulls information from our memory and puts it into our conscience, and our conscience is our future. So this means that if the amygdala is the sole gateway to the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is the gateway to the prefrontal cortex, this means that our current emotional state determines our future. That is a neurophysiologic fact. If we don't learn to control our emotional state, we will never control our future. Never. So all the self-help motivational books in the world, all the being in the right rooms is not going to help. All of the reading and waking in gratitude will not help you. You have to learn to control your emotional state. And what do we need to have a balanced emotional state? Can we go to the next slide?
Oxygen.
We need the right nutrients. Human beings need 90 essential minerals, which you can get from Celtic sea salt, you can get from Baja sea salt. I would prefer that you not get it from pink Himalayan sea salt because most of that comes from China and is laden with heavy metals. If you want to see a really interesting video, go to the ultimatehuman.com and look at my sea salt video where I crush pink Himalayan sea salt from 3 manufacturers onto a cutting board and then pass a high-powered magnet over it and watch the salt jump up onto the magnet. So my preference would be Baja or Celtic salt. But we need 90 essential minerals. We need 3 essential fatty acids. Essential means they are essential for life. And we need 9 essential amino acids, 9 proteins. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Just let that sink in for a second. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. They are not necessary for life. So you choose your carbohydrates wisely. So if we have the right amino acids, we have the right nutrients, we have the right minerals, the brain begins to function in the healthiest possible way. That's why I want to create an army of people that are putting the right nutrients back into human beings so we can fix the mental health crisis or the mental disease crisis that we say that we have, because we actually have a lack of mental fitness, not the presence of mental illness. You get illness from the lack of fitness. You start to drain nutrients out of human beings, you get the expression of disease. And so can we go to the next slide? So I want to give you an exercise. That's theultimatehuman.com. You can go there. You can. I have a free newsletter if you want to sign up for a free newsletter. I also put all kinds of videos on there about optimal health, anti-aging, longevity. If you want to look at the supplements that correlate to a lot of these conditions, I have those on the Ultimate Human. But what I want to end by kind of tying this all together, and then hopefully we have a minute or a few minutes for some questions. But by tying this all together, I'm going to give you a very, very powerful technique that you can use starting tomorrow morning, that you can put to practice in your daily life that will entirely change the trajectory of your career. And it's harnessing the universal law of attraction in our brains to influence the world around us. How many of you believe in the universal law of attraction? Oh, a lot of you, good. Well, I'm a scientist. I used to not believe in the universal law of attraction. I thought it was a whole bunch of spiritual mumbo jumbo. Until I stumbled on a law in physics one day, and yes, I read physics journals for sport. I'm a huge geek. But I was reading a physics journal one day, and I read about a law in physics called constructive interference. And this says that if 2 frequencies of equal wavelength meet, the size of the frequency doubles. If 2 frequencies of equal wavelength meet, the size of the frequency doubles. This proves that you can get energy from conversation. We can get energy from other human beings. The opposite is true when opposite wavelengths meet, which is why people can steal energy from you. This is why guarding your energy is as important as filtering your water and guarding your food, because energy can be given to us or it can be stolen from us. And interestingly, they did a study called the Spain Scale of Emotion, SPANE. It stands for the Scale of Positive and Negative Emotion. And they measured frequency leaving a human being's body. And they determined that the most powerful frequency to leave a human being's body. Does anyone know? I can't hear what you're saying, but somebody repeat it into the microphone. I want to hear what people guess is the most powerful frequency to leave a human being's body.
Anger. No, whatever.
It is the frequency of authenticity.
Oh.
And if you want to look that study up, Spain Scale of Emotion, you're welcome to. The frequency of authenticity was 4 times the amplitude of love, meaning it had 4 times the capacity to influence the world around it. Only the interesting thing about this frequency of authenticity is that it only occurred when 2 things were present. Number 1, your words have to be truthful. And number 2, you have to believe what you're saying. If you don't believe what you're saying and your words are not truthful, you won't emanate the frequency of authenticity. Now, we call this intuition, right? Like sometimes you'll hear women are more intuitive. That's actually not true. Women are more sensitive to frequency, right? Because they're meant to bear children. They're very sensitive to frequency. This is why my wife tells me all the time, like, something's wrong with that dude. He's going to come stab us in the back. And I'm like, babe, he's great. He drives a nice car. He's got nice shoes. Suit fits perfectly. And then 6 months later, you're taking the knife out of your back. She picks up on that frequency that is leaving their body. And even though she can't put a finger on it, it is the lack of authenticity. So what if there was a way for us to put ourselves into an authentic state? And that's what I want to teach you. I'm going to end on this and then take some questions. I want you to learn a 60-second to 90-second technique to put yourself into an authentic state before your next meeting, before your next discussion with your spouse, before you have a sit down with your child, before, if you're a realtor, you go in and ask for a listing and you watch what happens due to the influence that you have on the world around you, so long as your words are truthful and you believe what you're saying. And it works like this. First, I just do 5 deep breaths the way that I just did them with you. I just do 5 obnoxiously deep breaths to change my state. And then you spend 30 seconds setting your intention. And by intention, I mean, what is the intention of this meeting? What is my intention by listening to this seminar? Like today, before I got on this call, my only intention was to add value. Was to spend an hour just providing value, giving without the expectation of receipt. That's my intention for being here today. And then after you set your intention, which takes 30 seconds, you visualize the destination. This is super important. Most people, when they create images in their mind, they visualize the journey. That is very dangerous, because then when the journey doesn't go the way that your brain expects it to go, you create doubt. But if you visualize the destination, so for example, when I work with UFC fighters, or when I work with NFL athletes, or when I work with other professionals, I will not have them envision how the fight is going to go. I will have them envision themselves winning, their hand being held up at the end of that fight, the belt going around their waist, the crowd like excitement from their win. They visualize the destination. So if you're a realtor and you're walking in to ask for a listing, envision that client thanking you and putting their trust and confidence in you and giving you that listing. If you're having an intentional discussion with your child, visualize the outcome of that. Visualize the outcome of your meetings. So you do 5 deep breaths. You set your intention. What is my intention for this meeting? I want to be intentional about this meeting. What do I intend to get out of this? And then you visualize the end, the destination. What will happen is you're tricking your brain into believing that this event has already occurred. And you will emanate the frequency of authenticity. And that frequency is so powerful. 70% of all of our communication between human beings is nonverbal. So if you emanate the frequency of authenticity, you will shift the state of that person, and you're much more likely to have the outcome that you want. So I feel like I've just thrown a lot at you guys. Like I just ate everybody's face. So I hope you guys got something from that. But if there are any questions, I'd love to take a question. I can't hear you guys. So maybe if somebody has a microphone, there's Eric.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Everybody give it up for Gary Brecka. We will do a few questions.
My son.
One here with Leanne, and let me do one here on this side, fancy glasses.
Fancy
Right here, second row.
Jake and Amber do cold plunges.
Right here, right here.
Before the
And then we'll do right in the
Go,
middle.
Mama, go do cold plunge.
Okay, we'll do 3.
Yeah. It's just
We can go all day.
every day.
And you might wonder, what does this have to do with leadership?
You gotta be healthy.
Yes.
An awful lot.
I really hope that you guys got something out of it.
Yeah. Believe me. This is true family. Believe me, we're all related here. I will tell you, just with working with him, everybody I've ever sat down with him, he works with everybody in our family, essentially, my mom and dad, and brothers and sisters, kids, all of it is. They sit down, we have one conversation, and they wish they would have recorded the conversation, because like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember everything that he just said. Because he is like ultimate human when it comes to what he's got inside of his head, trying to figure all this stuff out. So and he works with, I won't shamelessly name drop, but he works with the most famous was Dana White, probably. You've seen the transformation that he did with Dana White. He told Dana he had 10 years and 4 months to live at age 52 if he didn't change some stuff. And he gave him an exact protocol. Dana followed it exactly, dropped. And what just give the before and after in in statistical, information?
So, Dana had something called metabolic syndrome, which, by the way, the number one killer of human beings is cardiovascular disease. And the leading cause of cardiovascular disease is something called metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is showing up in younger and younger and younger ages right now. And it is any two of the following five: abdominal obesity, high blood pressure, high sugars and insulin resistance, high triglycerides, and high blood glucose. He had 5 of those 5.
Oh, wow.
When I met Dana White, he actually had more fat in his blood as a percentage than he had blood. His triglycerides were over 800. His blood pressure was through the roof. He was on 3 blood pressure medications: a beta blocker, a calcium channel blocker, and a diuretic. He was on a thyroid medication to keep his thyroid functioning. He was on a blood thinner, and he was on something for a tinnitus in his ears. He's on no medication now. Right, I went back 10 years in his medical records and I said, Dana, what's amazing is all of your cardiovascular workup has always been normal. Has anyone ever checked your homocysteine? We checked his homocysteine, and over a 5-month period of time, as that homocysteine fell, the vascular system dilated, his pressure returned to normal. In fact, his cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Ram Dandeliah, who's the head of cardiothoracic surgery at Cedars-Sinai, and I now work together all of the time. He hated me in the beginning. He said, you know, you're putting Dana on these experimental vitamins. I don't believe a thing you're doing. I don't know what you do, but you're playing with people's lives. I'm going to repeat all of his cardiovascular tests. And so help me God, if they're not perfect, this will not be the last time you heard from me. And then he repeated those tests. They were all normalized. And to his credit, he now has, you know, affiliated with our clinical team. And so, you know, we can change the minds of physicians too, but he had abdominal obesity. He had insulin resistance. He had high blood pressure. He had high blood sugar. He had high triglycerides. And what was really difficult for Dana to understand was he had so much fat in his blood that I was going to put him on a high fat diet, what I call a keto reset, in order to lower the amount of fat in his blood. That was the hard concept for him to understand, that I wanted him to eat 75% fat in order to lower the fat in his blood. But all we did was we turned his body on that fat in his bloodstream like a fat Pac-Man. And every month over month, his triglycerides would fall by more than 100 points until they completely normalized. And so, you know, if we tap into the power of what God gave us, God, you know, the ability of this to heal this. There are fascinating experiments about frequency, taking 2 people, putting them in separate rooms, they have the exact same disease, not being truthful with one and telling them they got a placebo drug that has 100% cure rate, and they're very lucky for their specific type of ailment, and telling somebody else that this is the end of the line, and watching the difference between how their cells behave, right? This has such power over this. And so in Dana's case, we did it with methylated nutrients and amino acids.
How long did it take before he got off all his meds?
It took 5 months for him to get off everything.
How much, what weight did he lose in that period of time?
When doctors say you've got
58
56
pounds.
months to live.
58
And it's
pounds off all his meds, 5 months. And
he
he's
just
very
said the
specific on
mental-
protocols that he goes through. He's very
Yep.
evangelical about it.
And, you know, what's astounding to me, right, is the true pandemic that we have in this country is we have a pandemic of holding organs in the body responsible for crimes they don't commit. Right, so he was on thyroid medication. And I said, and I looked at his thyroid diagnosis and I said, well, you know, interestingly, by the way, if you suffer from hypothyroid, or you know somebody that suffers from hypothyroid, maybe I'm just going to take a note, because what happens is the thyroid produces 2 hormones, right? It produces something called T4 and something called T3. The majority of the time when T3 is low, we call this hypothyroid, and then we medicate the thyroid gland. But the little known fact about the thyroid is that it only produces 20% of the T3 in our blood. So if T3 is low, there's an 80% chance that it's not the thyroid. But we medicate the thyroid 100% of the time. And why is that? Well, the question becomes, where does the other 80% of this thyroid hormone come from? It is methylated from T4. We take T4 and convert it into T3. Outside of the thyroid, in the gut and the liver. If you don't have the right raw materials, selenium, thiamine, if you don't have the right raw materials to make this conversion, your T3 hormone is low, but not because there's something wrong with your thyroid, because your body is missing raw materials to convert the thyroid hormone outside of the thyroid. I can't even tell you how many thousands of clients have been like, oh my God, Gary, you fixed my thyroid. And I go, no, I didn't fix your thyroid. There was nothing wrong with your thyroid. We fixed your methylation outside of the thyroid. We just fixed the issue you had in the gut and the liver, and now you're converting your thyroid hormone because there was never anything wrong with that organ. Why would we stand on it with a chemical or a synthetic or a pharmaceutical when it's done nothing wrong? That's the real pandemic that we have going on right now in America.
Let me throw in, the biggest statement that Gary helped me with is, doctors saying stress is a killer, stress is a killer, stress is a killer. So if you feel stressed, you should just chill.
Sure.
Right? And Gary said, no. That's the worst thing you can do. If you feel stressed, to chill, it's the worst thing. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm supposed to chill if I'm stressed out. I need to go lay down. I need to go stare at the wall or something. He said, no. He said, aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. You need to stress your body when you're stressed. You need to move. You need to challenge yourself. That's what's going to take care of the stress. And I was like, what? Nobody told me that. Like I'm stressed out. I'm supposed to go to the gym. Yep. I'm stressed out. I'm supposed to get in cold water. Yep. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, this is way different than my whole life plan. But Leanne, you've got a question.
Thank you so much. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. I have a very weird question, but I'm super healthy. I work out 6 days a week. I'm vegan. I got COVID, and ever since then, I have horrible tinnitus in my left ear and a hearing loss. And I've met a bunch of other people who have the same thing, and I've been to all these doctors, and they've all told me I have to live with it for the rest of my life, and I'm supposed to go in next week and get a hearing aid and do all this stuff. And it's really interfering with my quality of life, but I've just been sucking it up for close to a year now. Is there anything that you could tell me that I can also pass on to other people I know regarding that, please?
Yeah, so there's no question that that's, fixable. Again, I just want to, for the sake of stating this, I'm not a physician, I'm not licensed to practice medicine, but I'll give you my opinion as a human biologist. So essentially what happens is when you have an elevated spike protein, either from the virus or from the vaccine, and yes, it can come from mRNA vaccines, right? We produce this spike protein, it leaves the cell, it enters the bloodstream, and it gets stuck in the arterial wall. You get something called diffuse vasculitis or dystonia vasculitis, which is an inflammatory condition in the lining of the blood vessel. A lot of us talk about how the skin is the largest organ in the body. I don't think that's true. The skin has the surface area of about half a tennis court. The lining of your blood vessels, 63,000 miles of blood vessels to be exact, has the surface area of 6 tennis courts. It is 12 times the surface area. So we know how bad a sunburn can affect us, but what about inflammation in 63,000 miles of blood vessel that has 12 times the surface area of the skin? So you imagine the impact on that. And then what happens in the ear is something called the tympanic membrane, which is a flexible drum, right? As you get build up a spike protein and reduce blood flow to that membrane, it stiffens. And when it stiffens, it hits these little bones in the ear, hammer, anvil, and stapes, and it tells the brain that there's a sound coming in, because we don't actually perceive sound as an electrical signal. We take a sound wave and convert it to an electrical signal. And when that conversion is interrupted, you get tinnitus. You get a constant sensation of a sound without the presence of the actual sound. So there's something called bromelain, thymulin, and nanokinase. You can get these in a supplement form. And what this will do, and additionally resveratrol, will restore the vascular laxity to that area of the body. It's a lack of blood flow that causes this tympanic membrane to stiffen and to send this signal, this sensation of a sound without the presence of a sound. So I would really consider doing that. And the second thing I might consider is talking to your doctor, using something called an exosome dripped into the ear to actually pull the inflammation right out of that tympanic.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll try anything.
Yeah.
I was
All right, fantastic. Let's go over here to my friend.
Yes, Teresa Bernetta Smith here.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi. I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. I have
Okay.
lost so many people that have taken interferon because of having multiple sclerosis. And the medication that they had to get cost over thousands of dollars. And a lot of them looked into things for their immune system, but because of the medication and the side effects, they deteriorated. And actually, I've lost a lot of them because of the fact I was an MS, counselor, and I helped them. So the interferon is what I have a question about, because I know the interferon is natural in the body. But when the immune system breaks down and the person thinks that they have to take a medication in order to, to help the immune system, we got to save lives.
Amen.
And I would like for you to help me to save the other lives that I haven't been able to touch.
So, about the etiology of multiple sclerosis in the lining of the nerve, in the sheath of the nerve. You can think about a nerve as a copper wire with a rubber sheath around it. If I make nicks in that rubber sheath, right, or I sand down that rubber sheath down to where I contact the copper wire, the signal will arc, right? The signal will leave. So as it's traveling down that nerve, if there's a sclerosy, a sore, it will arc right there. And you get multiple scleroses or multiple sclerosis. And then what happens is eventually this neuronal disease progresses. But the question is, what is the cause of the demyelination? Right? Why do nerves spontaneously start to demyelinate? Well, they don't. There are some very, very well done, peer-reviewed, published clinical studies that found in the autopsies of multiple sclerosis patients, 100% of them had parasitic and viral infections. And we don't look at a parasite or a virus as actually causing the scleroses. By the way, we used to think that once a nerve had demyelinated, that it could not remyelinate again. That is patently false. We remyelinate nerves through the process of methylation, and supplementing for methylation is an important part of addressing the healing from this condition. But absolutely, these people should do viral and pathogen testing and actually see if they have Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, West Nile, or chronic Lyme infections, which sail right under the radar of a lot of diagnostics. And we just assume that there's this strange spontaneous erosion in the myelin sheath. And the truth is, that's not the issue. Issue is viral pathogens embedding themselves in locations where they don't belong, and then the immune system attacking them there. And then we say that we have an autoimmune disease, and we start to try to shut down the immune system. Same thing happens in Crohn's disease, right? We take people that have Crohn's disease and we say that's an autoimmune disorder. Well, that's actually not true, because what is the immune system doing? The immune system is attacking bacteria that should have stayed inside the luminal wall of the gut, but they're exiting the luminal wall of the gut and they're in a location where they don't belong. And just like a bouncer keep a guy out of a bar, he says, hey, if you come in here, I'm going to throw you out. There's going to be a fight. So when bacteria shows up in the luminal wall of the intestine or escapes the intestine through leaky gut and enters the bloodstream, the immune system properly attacks them and says, you're not supposed to be here. And then we say the immune system's misbehaving. We're going to punish the immune system with methotrexate, with anti-inflammatories. We're going to use immunosuppressants to stop it from doing its job instead of sealing the gut. So, we had a patient, and I'm not saying that all Parkinson's patients have viral pathogens, but an interesting case that my clinical team encountered, and we've had several of these, a patient that was diagnosed with Parkinson's 6 years ago. And when we looked at blood work, we saw every year since he had been diagnosed, we saw an elevated white blood cell called an immature granulocyte. And it's not elevated in Parkinson's. It's elevated in chronic viral attacks. And so my clinic director said, hey, the next time that you come down to see us, we want to do a viral pathogen test on you. And we tested him for viruses. And we found out that he had the highest level of West Nile, which he got from a Zika mosquito right here in Miami. And he had one of the highest Lyme titers that we've ever seen. So he actually didn't have Parkinson's. He had the neurological symptoms of Parkinson's because he had a viral pathogen. So very often when we look at the spokes of the wheel, what's going wrong in the human body? It looks like the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. I've got weight gain, water retention, poor sleep, poor focus and concentration. I got an autoimmune disease. I got thyroid. I got high blood pressure. But we have to start asking ourselves, where do all of these things meet? What is the common hub where all of these things meet? And the majority of the time it is nutrient deficiencies. You give the body the raw material it needs to do its job, and it performs incredibly. And so, I would really encourage you to start looking into the research between viruses and the onset of multiple sclerosis and parasites and the onset of multiple sclerosis, because you'll find that to this day, they say the etiology, the genesis of these diseases is unknown. I don't believe that anything is idiopathic in human beings. I just believe that we don't know the source, and we should continue to look for the source. And so I would encourage these people to do virus and parasite testing, and then start to get on a good viral anti-parasitic protocol. Same thing is true with mold and other issues. People get chronic mold infections. They don't ever realize that they have a fungus or a mold growing inside their body. They get this strange myriad of symptoms. And when you cleanse the body from these pathogens, it goes back to functioning like the beautiful machine it was designed to.
All right, one more question. We have our last question. We could go all day. Everybody in here would have a question. Here's what I would just tell you all. You have 72 hours to find the replay of this. You can watch this again. You also can go watch him on Joe Rogan. You can watch him, just look at his podcast. The Ultimate Human,
I know, it's
his
awesome.
podcast.
I love it.
You can find lots of his stuff.
I mean, to have
you know,
report
this
his
is trying to
training,
sound
to give us a
anything.
keynote, it's
You know,
like,
I see some people going, this
let's
guy
have
would
a
be
few
great
people.
at our company.
Have a pleasant.
This would be amazing. But this wasn't designed as any form of anything other than to just bring you value. It's brought my family value, brought me and Marina and myself value. And I wanted to bring you value so you could become the best form of yourself to be able to be the best leader you could possibly be. But go ahead, last question.
Thank you so much. You completely blew my mind. I'm Daniela from Chile, and I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on kids and respiratory issues. So we've got a 6-year-old, and we've taken her so many people. We've done all the elimination diets, to see if she's got any allergies or things like that. And what they say is just no big deal. Just take her adenoids out. She's constantly inflamed, and it just feels so unnatural to us. But the doctors, they just say, we take them out every day, all the time. Like, it's just the most normal thing, like no big deal. And so we are stuck still with the problem. We've tried so much, and we feel that that's the same response we get all the time, right? And then all the judging of the family going, you just don't care about your child because you're not taking her adenoids out. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, first of all, my whole position on that, thyroidectomies, all of these other surgeries that we do to just get rid of organs, to me anyway, is very nonsensical. If it wasn't necessary, it wouldn't be there.
Right.
My sincere belief is that this body was created by God. You're never going to convince me that 2 bacteria banged each other in a mud puddle and 400 million human beings. The more I understand about human physiology, the more deep I actually believe that this was made by a creator. So we didn't put things in here that are unnecessary. So why would we take them out unnecessarily? So, generally what happens in these kinds of conditions, adenoid, histamine reactions in the adenoids, allergies, food sensitivities. And by the way, I think food sensitivity testing is very 1998 science, right? Because one of the things that we never do is we never consider somebody's baseline state of inflammation. So let me give you an example. When we do allergy testing, for example, we take your blood and we wash it down a membrane. And then on the other side of the membrane, we wash an allergen, wheat, soy, dairy, corn, blueberries, whatever it is, gluten, we wash it down a membrane. And we measure how upset the immune system and how upset the blood gets by the inflammatory reaction across this membrane. And then we grade it from a 1 to a 10. 1 to 3 is mild, 3 to 6 is moderate, 6 to 10 is severe. Okay, and then we say you're severely allergic to eggs, wheat, soy, dairy, corn. You're mildly allergic to blueberries and pine nuts. But the truth is, this testing, and what I think they're probably not considering in your son's case, is what is the baseline state of inflammation? In other words, are you walking around at a 6? So that if something causes a sensitivity of a 2, it shows up as an 8. It's just like if I took 2 people and stood them right next to each other and I said, okay, I'm going to push in on your back with a pressure of 2. You tell me how much pain you feel. And I push in on your back and you go, I barely felt that. And then I take, your spouse and I do the same amount of pressure and they report a pain level of 10 because they had a pinched nerve and they started at an 8.
Wow.
Same pressure. One records a pain of 10, one records a pain of 2. This is very similar to how histamines work in the human body. When you have high levels of histamine, and I would really suggest that you get his homocysteine checked, his homocysteine level. If you have high levels of histamines, then small insults, pollen, wheat, wheatgrass, air pollution, small insults cause the already elevated histamine response to elevate even more and become symptomatic. Whereas somebody else that's walking around at a 0 gets an insult of a 2 and it's non-symptomatic. He's walking around at a 6, gets an insult of 2 and he's symptomatic. So the idea is not to take the organ out that's responding. The idea is to lower the histamine response. These are called mast cell symptoms, and they're also called histamine, hypersensitivity to histamines. And if you find the source, and I suspect it's hyperhomocystinemia, and you lower the level of baseline inflammation, you see things like asthma and allergies and food sensitivities permanently take a back seat. Because you never really had those allergies or food sensitivities or sensitivities or allergic reactions. You were having a minor reaction and an elevated histamine response. Wow! I hope I know that now.
Gary,
Okay.
my friend, I love you, brother. Everybody give Gary Breck a big round of applause. Thanks for your
You are androids are not like a thing. They're just tissue. You find it in around the area and they can scrape it.
Aging is the aggressive pursuit
And
of
then you
comfort.
have to relearn.
So let's stand up for a second. Let's move our bodies a little bit. Jumping jacks and jumping jacks real quick. Ready, set?
Just had memories done.
3.
And they were like,
Whoa.
first we're so high, we can go further, but I put it. I love that I can do that. My house shakes, we learn how to. When I do it up here, because it's very few that goes down to keep things
We
from
got a lot
up
of
into
time
your
covered today. Now I want
I
to make
just
sure
thought
your
it was like
notes
a little-
are filled
like
with
it's like
value.
a little ball,
Filled
whack
with
it out.
value.
That's not it. So
I
if
gotta
the
tell you.
makes a mistake,
Team's got to tell
you
me,
got a
is Gary,
2-year-old now
is he
that
logged off?
can't swallow because that it's going all back washed up into their. Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
I can tell stories.
I'm like, I wanted to try to this
So-
okay. I'm like.
This is Gary's life. So crazy.
What,
When we met him, he was just he was doing his thing and
Like they're making.
laid out all the stuff, gave us the protocol for what we could do for our lives. Started to change
And
on a
everything
structural
talking,
level.
I
lots of
mean,
different
like the
things.
myelin sheath
Muscle mass,
regrowing and stuff like that,
body fat and
nerve.
medications and those.
The docs
energy.
did not believe that now they would have the things.
Money,
So because
we got everything, man. We have the red light therapy bed, 130 grand. We got the oxygen thing next to the, you'll see it in the gym. We got the EMF mats that automatically turn on in the morning. They're underneath our mattresses.
You know?
We got all this stuff. I have every single thing that's supposed to balance my body. So I literally have no excuses. I'll use them, I'll make them up, but I don't have any like actual excuses. But he's out there helping the whole world. It's really fun to see because he's been really dedicated to this for a long time. So I gotta tell you about 2 weeks ago, this is his life. I'm talking to him on a Saturday. And he said,
Oh, it's delicious.
Eric, let me tell you what happened to me the last 48 hours. So this is on Sunday. He said Thursday, I go to Houston, excuse me, to Austin, Texas, and I do a podcast with Joe Rogan.
Judge me after that when we did like all health and I come in with killing that. Well, banana bread's good. Chris is all about.
Yeah, so it's made with banana and eggs.
So there's.
I meet with him and his family, because I've been working with him for 4 weeks. He's changed a whole
Well,
bunch
you
of
don't
his
have to think
whole
about too that. I'm
health
they're probably.
The
They're
next
about
morning,
that, like,
we
or
need
they
to
make them
see
when
what
they're
happened.
homemade or not like.
We got this
Just around.
program for the afternoon.
Oh, don't.
Mario Lopez for the Good Morning
They're.
America 40 segment. And then Saturday, Dana White picks me up in the jet, flies me to New York, where we go to the UFC.
Yeah, they can hear that on there too, instead of us
President
copying.
Trump,
Son.
and I won't say the rest of it because probably privileged, but he said, this is my life. He said, I don't understand what's happening, but he said, I'm so happy I'm able to help people of influence.
It's not on the TV.
Don't touch my stuff. Get out of my room and shut the door, please.
Somebody's on there.
It's like you said, ground yourself, cold water,
Uh-oh.
deep, you have some deep breaths, make sure you're eating whole foods. That's where I have my biggest challenges in that. With the body, hydrate, all those kinds of things, right? It's gonna help. So anyway, make us all a better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Now,
We got somebody on there.
does that affect leadership? I think it does. I think it does. Now, I want to talk about leadership.
Question about how you're supposed.
About leadership. How can you become a better leader?
Stand in the snow. so-
And how can you develop more
Yeah,
leaders in
usually
your
make
team?
people fall off. I stand.
Fall off.
That's the rest of the-
Before you get
How
fell.
to become a better leader. How you develop more leaders on your team. We talked yesterday. Foundation of leadership is the elements, independent, problem solver, consistent,
I can hear it then.
big vision, and creates action. So let's talk about you individually first. Can you coach you? Yes or no?
No.
Yes. If you get a coach outside of you, can you go faster?
Valerie.
Of course. Here's what I will tell you. Don't be rebellious to the wrong things. Like being rebellious to a coach, being rebellious to a teacher, being rebellious to an advisor, being rebellious to a mastermind, being rebellious to things that will give you, that they're like a time machine. You step in and you become smarter, faster. Why would you want to waste time? When somebody already has what you need, they can give it to you in a fraction of the time. You trade a little bit of your time and a few of your dollars in order to be able to get that thing, and you get to be 3 years smarter without being 3 years older. It's so arrogant to say, no, I don't want to listen to that. I'm going to do it myself. Stupid. We only have so much time. Condense the learning so you can get to the contribution. Every way you can. I believe 3 cheat codes. Coaches, mentors, masterminds. It's a cheat code. It's a shortcut. It's a treasure map. If you can get them, use them. If you can access them, get around them. Find groups or people who are smarter than you, more efficient than you, thinking bigger than you, that will cause you to stretch and can give you the tools in order to be able to go where you want to go. That's the cheat code. Okay? Any way that you can do that, do it. Now, let's talk about independent. I want to walk you through each of these 5 on you, for you as an individual, and for everybody at home. Dorothy Miller, I'm talking to you. Clarissa Doonan, I'm talking to you. A.O. Johnson, I'm talking to you. I want you to think about, how do you react when you need to get something done? Is your first response to ask for help? To be dependent? To ask for guidance? Are you annoyed that your upline isn't supporting you a little bit more? Are you jealous of people who have a good upline, who seems to be able to give them an advantage? All of you, mentally and emotionally, right now, this moment, I want you to mentally detach from your upline when it comes to an excuse. And imagine that you're personally sponsored by the company. From this moment forward, I want you to say goodbye to your upline when it comes to an excuse. I want to say, go to your upline, say, thank you for introducing me. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll always be grateful. I hope we're always friends, but I will never use you as an excuse for my lack of achievement ever again.
So good.
I got this. I will go do this. My mentor, Jim Rohn, taught me that when faced with a challenge or a problem, you got to ask yourself some questions. Number one, what can I do? What can I do? Here's this problem. What could I do? What action could I take? The learning is in the doing. What can I do in order to be able to be in charge of my own life? Be CEO of my own life. What could I do? Question number two, what could I learn? Is there information out there? Can I look it up? Can I Google it? Can I find some resource that would give me more knowledge so I could become stronger? What could I learn? Question number three, who could I ask? Who could I ask? Hey, can you help me? Do you have some guidance for me? Number four, don't ask first. If you want to become independent, don't ask first. Weak people ask first. That is their way of solving problems. That is their way of thinking they're being independent. They're going to somebody else and they're asking them, what should I do with this situation? Instead of asking them, just say, you know what? I've got this issue. What can I do?
Face, because I do that to Leah all the time.
Before I go bother somebody else,
Yeah.
what can I do? I saw this video.
Well, now you know you can do
It said on average, if you're focused on a task
I don't do it all the time.
and you get interrupted from that task
You're growing.
for just 5 seconds, it takes on average 21 minutes to get back to the level of focus
I've experienced.
that you were just interrupted with. And some of you are just interruption machines for your upline. You're interruption machines for the problem solvers in your organization. And because they're good, asking them, what should I do with this? What should I do with that? Or what should I have this kind of prospect? I have that kind of prospect. Well, what do I do with this situation? Somebody's asking me about the sweetener. Somebody's asking me about this compensation plan. Get it here. Not out there.
I think there's a difference too.
What could I do?
Just starting, yes, like remember the tell.
What
share,
could I learn?
You know what I mean?
Tell,
show.
Because when you
Try
do
and-
ask somebody,
You're
if
still
you've already
gonna-
done step one and step two,
You said don't ask first.
Right.
you go to somebody and say, you know, look, I tried this, and I tried this, and I tried this, and I listened to this, and I read this, and I watched this, and here's all the steps that I did, and I'm still stuck.
Yeah, see, that's right.
A good problem solver has no problem giving it to
I
you.
read this, I read that.
When somebody
I
calls
still
you and
can't
says,
figure it out, can you help me?
what's the date of the company convention again?
Oh, that's me.
Dates,
Dates,
times.
Define, what could I do about
I know,
finding
it's
this answer?
different too.
Where could I go to learn this answer? Where is it likely that this answer is gonna be?
What time is?
What times is the event gonna start again?
Okay, doing it, it's there.
Do they validate my marketing? Like, come on, people.
Everyone, I'm like, I just want to make
We're
sure.
so employee minded that this is where we go.
Reminder in your phone.
We go when we're employee minded. We go to this place. This is not entrepreneurial minded. If you're gonna be independent, number one, be independent.
Yes.
Stop being so damn needy. Now, if you have somebody on your team who says, yes, I want to be a leader. Yes.
Okay.
Say, okay, I'm gonna be coaching you and mentoring you on these, not that I'm a big shot, not that I'm better than you, but I'm a little farther down the road, but I'm gonna be giving you assignments that'll help you with these 5 elements. You okay with that? So when they come to you and they say, what time does the Zoom tonight?
Ah, Becky.
How do you answer that? Why don't you go find out and tell me?
Why don't you go find out and tell me?
Where do you think you can get that information?
Page.
Where was that information published? How was that information communicated?
Anybody got a copy?
What could you do mentally right now, so you never have to ask me a question like that again?
There's more. I want to make more too, that's why I was telling you.
Here's your assignment. 1, go find the answer. 2,
Are they like 40
don't bring me those kind of questions. Not if you want to be a leader.
I want cream. I'll take
If I can't, if I hated you, I would just keep giving you the answer. Oh, it starts at 9 o'clock. No, it's on January 22nd. You want me to do that for you? You want me to send you an email with all the details? Do you need the link? Can I get it for you?
If I hated
Do you want me to give you your cereal in the morning? You want to be a leader or not? You want to be a leader? You know the answer to this question, and I'm not your customer service. Step up, right? Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
Now, that's not being mean, it's being purposeful, especially if you tell them, if you're willing, coachable, and hungry, I want to develop you into a strong, independent leader, and then a leader of leaders. So what I'm doing with you, I want you to do with your people. Make sure you do it with a kind heart. You once they know that you care, you can be a little bit more direct. Don't be a jerk about it. Don't shame them for asking the first time, because they've been taught to ask these types of questions in every environment they've been in their whole life. They think they're being proactive by asking the question. Don't shame them, just let them know. This thinking has to change.
That's good.
You have the solution within your reach.
How would you say that, Jimmy?
Go solve it.
That you would give them the answer.
So on independent, right?
No.
Problem solved. Let me tell you what changed my life when it comes to came to problem solving. One simple phrase.
How would you
Well,
say that?
Yeah, whatever. Paragraph.
When was the Zoom call tonight?
You get paid in life for solving problems. And in our profession, the bigger the problem you can solve, the bigger the paycheck you get. If everybody has limiting beliefs within your organization, that's the problem, and you can solve that problem, and you can replace those limiting beliefs with empowering beliefs, you're gonna get a huge reward. If the company isn't open in a new country or a new market, and you can be the one that launches that country and that market without any language, without any translation, without any support systems, without any trainings, without any of that stuff, guess what? You get a big reward. If your company goes through a compensation plan change and everybody is all spun out of control, and you're a lighthouse in the storm, you reframe the narrative, you get your people focused while other people are distracted. That's a bigger problem. You get a bigger paycheck. They changed the ingredients in your product that you were in love with, and so was your team. Bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. Somebody quits and leaves your organization, tells lies about you and your company to build their own organization, or tells the truth. Bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. Solve that problem, you're going to be a winner. If there's dysfunction rampant like cancer throughout your culture, throughout your organization, that's been left unchecked, and you solve it, the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. If your corporate staff has gotten sour on the field because of field dysfunction and because of being battered over and over and over again, and you can build a bridge and you can empower your corporate team at the same time you're empowering the field, solve that problem. Bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. And I just went, oh, first, I was my whole life trying to get away from problems. I don't want to have any problems. If there was a problem, my wife would tell you today, one of my greatest intentions is to avoid conflict. If I can avoid conflict, I'm all in on avoiding conflict, right? So that's not exactly solving a problem, it's perpetuating a problem, isn't it? So that's still a journey I'm working on. When it comes to family, when it comes to stuff, you know, I can do it with you. I can be tough as nails with you, but with my family, I'm just gonna go to this side of the house during Thanksgiving, you know, I'm just gonna turn the TV up a little louder. We'll get through this holiday. But one, I learned not to avoid them. And I will be honest with you, I learned it first in my business. I learned you can't overreact to a problem. You can't overreact to dysfunction. You can't overreact to bad behavior. You can't overreact to the wrong belief systems sinking into your team. You can't overreact to it. You can underreact, but you can't overreact. And the reaction needs to not be aggression. Your reaction needs to be, how do I solve this problem? How do I solve this problem? So one, I learned to step towards problems instead of away. Not, and don't misinterpret this. Sometimes you can attract problems that aren't there. I had a person on my team who was always calling me. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about the shipping situation? Have you heard about the currency conversion problem? Did you hear they have a shortage of this? And did you hear so-and-so is mad at this other person? And did you hear this person's getting ready to leave? And did you hear the company executive was in the lounge and somebody overheard that company executive said that they were sick and tired of the field? Did you hear? Always. And I find it's like, dude, first of all, there's nothing that you've heard or know that I don't know. A leader hears it all, sees it all, is aware of it all. Okay, how I handle it's a little different than how you handle it. He said, yeah, they just don't want to tell you. Because they're afraid they're going to get yelled at or something. So they tell me. I said, no. You misinterpret. They tell you because you get your sense of significance by giving an ear to drama. You're a drama magnet, my friend. Guess why they come to you? Because they know you'll listen and listen and listen. And as a nice person, you'll empathize and you'll give them emotionally a hug. And you'll say, you know, it's probably not your fault. I'll go talk to the other people. I'll see if I can help you with this situation. You've attracted drama. And until you stop attracting drama, there's only so far you're going to go. You're encouraging weakness, not strength. You're allowing limiting beliefs to become real in people's minds. He got mad. He didn't like that. But later he said, you know what? I didn't realize it. But I kind of, once I said, no, I was not going to listen to that. I realized that I kind of missed it. I missed being the one bringing the little drama here and there and trying to be a little fixer and a solver of everybody's minutia. I missed it. So I said, look, man, here's the thing. Let's find, when faced with a situation, drama, whatever, is it real? Is it real, yes or no? Or is it a limiting belief? When faced with the problem, is it real? If it's real, what can we do about it? Is it a belief system? Do we need to reframe the narrative? Do we need to challenge some bad behavior that's showing up somewhere? Do we need to, what do we need to do? We need to come up with a solution. We need to be kind about it, but we need to solve it. You know what I've noticed about what do they call them? Deca millionaires, 100 million plus, and the billionaires? Watch how many people bring petty little shit to them. Little nicky-nacky nonsense. Little drama stuff. They don't even bring it up because the billionaires will not give it any oxygen, number one. Number two, they'll take the person that brought them that nicky-nacky shit and they'll put them in a different category, and they'll stay in that different category for a long time unless they prove otherwise. So it becomes risky. If you want to be around a very successful person, that's risky to bring nicky-nacky shit into their orbit. So don't be one of those people. Find the most successful people. Don't bring them that stuff. The only way you can is, hey, this thing showed up. Let me tell you what I did about it. I took care of it, but I wanted you to be aware of it. So, one, I learned instead of running away to step towards it, solve it, deal with it, because culture is everything. If you don't build a strong culture within your organization, you let it spin out of control, that's on you as a leader. And number two, I looked to find bigger problems to solve. Not to attract drama, but what was a challenge that the company needed solved? There's no training in this particular market. What could I do? How could I fix that? How could I fill that gap? How could I step in? There's not enough people traveling within our organization, visiting different markets. How could I start that within my organization and lead by example and show the rest of the company, here's the results that we're getting from doing that. Even if I'm not directly compensated from everybody else, getting the example of what I'm doing, I'm still contributing to the company that's giving me an opportunity. See what I'm saying? So one, become a good problem solver. Don't just be good at giving it to somebody else. Solve it yourself. Put a team together. Solve it quick. Move forward. Get back to income producing activity. And two, every opportunity you can. If somebody says, I'm willing, here's what we're looking for. Somebody who is willing, coachable, and hungry. And if you are those three things, then we're going to develop these 5 characteristics.
Coachable.
So think about a person on your team that says, I'm willing, coachable, and hungry. There's a problem that needs to be solved. Could you give that to them as an assignment? Start with a little one. A little problem. Then solve a bigger one, bigger one, bigger one, bigger one. Every time they come to you with something, it needs to be coming back with something. I want you to write something down in leadership development. Please write this down. And this will sound counterintuitive to your natural, lovely, big-hearted selves. When it comes to mentoring and coaching and building leadership on your team, never give, always trade. I'll explain what that means. never give, always trade. If anybody on your team comes to you with an ask, and they don't have enough information or knowledge or power to be able to do it, or maybe they have limiting beliefs, no problem. I'll help you, but I need you to do this first. Give them something. Trade their action that will mentor them in the direction of these attributes for your support. So if you're willing to do this, then yeah. Hey, will you jump on the Zoom with me? Will you come on my Zoom? Have you registered for the convention yet?
Nice.
Oh, no? Register for the convention. Send me a screenshot of the confirmation, and then I'll let you know if I'm available. You can trade your support for them using the product. You can trade their support for starting 10 conversations. You can trade your support for engaging in some personal development. You can trade your support for showing up on the Zoom. If you're on the Zoom, then yes, ask me again. If you're not on the Zoom, no, I'm not willing to do it. See, we give too much because we're empathetic. How many of you are an empath? Somebody comes to you with a problem, you just want to solve it because you have a big heart. Is helping. It's not making them stronger, it's making them weaker. So you have to learn how to trade, and it's weird at first. But I became very, very good at it. What are the things that I want them to do? I want them to use the product. So what can I, if they ask for something, what can I do to trade them in exchange for them using the product? And what kind of confirmation can I get? I want them to talk to people. What can I do? How can I use any ask that they have to get them to have more conversations with more people? I'm going to do it. If they're not registered for the convention, I'm going to do it. If they're competitive, I might pit somebody against each other to say first one that gets to this, the next rank, whatever, go get one customer, whatever, put somebody on the phone with me. You want me to jump on, be part of your training in 3 days? Fine, no problem. Just put me on the phone, but between now and then, with 3 prospects. Oh, what do you mean? Did I stutter? Put me on the phone with 3 prospects. Can you do that? Is that to do? Can you find those prospects? Well, yeah, I can find them. But why are you saying this? Because I don't want to just continue to spoon feed you. I want to teach you the activities necessary in order to be able to go do whatever you need to do with or without me. My goal is to help you become independent. Right now, you're acting dependent. Here's how I know somebody's independent. They'll do what is in the best interest of their business without a push, without a contest, without an assignment, without a challenge, without a kick in the ass, without a hug, without any of that stuff. They're just going to go do it. They will map out their own plan. But until they can map out their own plan, because most people are employee minded, I don't mind trading as the teaching tool instead of giving. That keeps them dependent, feeds my ego, steals from my future and theirs. Some of you are superheroes. You're giving all the stuff to everybody because you're a giving person. You think that's what leaders are supposed to do. Sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Guess what? Sometimes the biggest sacrifices of the leader is having somebody in your team that's in pain and not taking them out of the pain, having them take themselves out of the pain. It's one of the hardest things you're going to ever have to do. You could solve it just like that. But instead, you put them in a situation where they have to solve. Somebody's scared to death. You know that they need to learn to start to say the words. They can't just stay in the background all the time. It's not going to serve them as a leader. So they ask you for something, or you give them an assignment. The next Zoom, the next company-wide or team-wide Zoom, you're gonna be the host. What? What does that mean? That means you're gonna welcome people. You're gonna have about 5 minutes of inspirational, motivational conversation, then you're gonna introduce the speaker. How am I supposed to do that?
Figure it out.
Figure it out. What am I supposed to say?
Figure it out.
Write it down. I don't know. What do other people say? How many speeches can you look up? How many introductions can you research? How many keystrokes are you away? Can you go on Chat GPT and have it write an introduction for you? A welcome to the Zoom call script for you. See, I just solved a few of their problems, but you see what I mean? If you'll do this, I'll tell you how to go write the script. You see what I mean? That would be even better. Trade, 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 trade all day. Trade, 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 trade. Because what are we doing? We're trying to help them become independent. That means any sign of dependence we have to challenge, and we have to strengthen from dependence to independence. Problem solver. Help them change their belief about problems instead of running away. Accept them, solve them. Don't be a drama magnet. Move forward. Consistency. This was my drug of choice. Inconsistency. This was the way I sabotaged my own growth. Inconsistency. I was terrible with this. Just the worst. I'd get things moving and then I'd just disappear for a week. I'd get things moving again, I'd disappear for 2 weeks. I'd put it in all kinds of packages and I'd rationalize and I'd justify, I need a little me time. I just need to stare at the wall. I just need to recharge my batteries. If the team can't work without me, then what kind of a team are they anyway? And I would just stop showing up to the team. And I'd be inconsistent. So if you see somebody in your organization that's inconsistent, what kind of challenges are you going to give them? What kind of assignments are you going to give them when it comes to consistency? What kind of framework? What does consistency look like? What is their baseline? What must happen on a daily basis? And then what can you add on top when you're in a push? At the end of the month or whatever, end of a contest. Well, what's the baseline? Can you teach them a level of consistency and why? What I learned is all of these things, I had to focus on why. Why does it matter so much that I'm consistent? You need to lay out, here's the damage that can be caused by inconsistency. You plant the seed, it takes root. Before it can start to grow, you rip it out. Then you plant another seed, it takes root, it starts to grow, and you rip it out. You do it over and over and over again. That's what inconsistency does to a team. So, leader needs to be counted on.
Oh, sure.
Consistency, not just in your action, but let me tell you something. Consistency in your energy. Consistency in how you show up, not that you show up. How do you show up? This was hard because sometimes I'm in a bad mood. I was in a bad mood 2 hours ago. Yes. I was throwing things backstage. I'm not kidding. I had some shit happen that I did not expect. Really pissed me off.
I'm pissed off.
Yeah. Really. But I'm only telling you that as an example, because did you sense it on me?
No,
Could you tell that I was pissed off?
but you're shaking your head, yes.
Could you?
Not a bit.
Because on purpose, I'm a professional. Stuff happens. I'm a professional. I'm not gonna show a negative version of myself and plant a seed of doubt in my team just because I'm having a pity party or I'm having a bad day. I've got to show up my highest, brightest part of myself instead of, you know, the damage of showing the worst version of yourself to your team, even for a glimpse, just for a moment. Do you know what that does? You have a bad day, you go off on somebody. You know what that does? You go off on somebody in front of the rest of the group. You know what that does? The ripple effect, you become unsafe. We don't know what version we're going to get of you. And because of that, you become less effective. So you have to be consistent in your energy. You got to be consistent. Now, I'm not always, you know, this intense. When we're hanging out at the house tonight, can't wait. When we're hanging out, it'll be a different energy, but I'll be on purpose. When you go on your company's incentive trip, some people think it's a vacation. It's not a vacation. Ever. For a leader? Can you get sloppy there? No. Can you get casual in your conversation there? No. You have to, every moment, every person you meet on the way there, as you're checking in, the image that you're giving to the staff at the resort, how you're interacting with your corporate officers, how you're interacting with each other, the brand new people that are there, the spouses that are seeing this for the first time, all of it. So when you go to the party, it looks like you're dancing. You're just being aware. You're connecting, but you're not going off the reservation. It's the reason why it's a bad idea. Even if it's a party. If you're going to step into a certain level of leadership, should you ever get sloppy in front of your team?
No.
Even if it's a party, even if other people get sloppy.
Jamie used to wish.
I mean, some will. There's an impact.
The majority of my young.
How you show up,
Dance floor.
how you carry yourself, energetically. Are you uplifting? Even to your company, they used to say,
And my husband not on the dance floor, he'd talk to the side.
no negative in your downline, only upline, right? Let me just correct that. Your upline doesn't need that shit either. I'm just telling you, you need somebody to vent to, go buy a dog. You know what I mean? Your company, no, poor dog. Wait a minute. Leave the dog alone. I love dogs.
It's fun.
Go vent in the mirror or do whatever you need to do, but don't do that to your upline. Your corporate staff, they're humans too. We're on a small town, this network marketing business. This is a small town. It doesn't take long for you to be known as the town fill in the blank. You want to wreck a CEO's weekend? Send a nasty email on a Friday. Now, it might be truthful. Customer service is this, and this is a disaster, and that's a disaster. You know, leadership is just sleep at the wheel. There's incompetence on every level. Send that on a Friday. If you want to wreck their weekend, you don't think they don't know? They know. They don't need you to like drip that acid into their ear. And you know what happens when you do that? They put you in another category. Now they're going to tolerate you instead of embrace you. It's going to take a while to embrace after you go off like that, even if it's earned. You lose your access to the inner circle when you do stuff like that. So in business, consistency of energy, consistency of being part of the solution, not part of the problem. Consistency. I'm going to give you some advanced stuff for just a second. Advanced stuff. How many of you would like to be in the inner circle of your company? Inner circle, where the decisions are made, where they think about stuff before it's even announced. Yeah. Let me tell you how you get on the inner circle. Because if I was in the field in a company, I would be in the inner circle and nobody would ever know. I would. And one, you want to build a strong relationship with your company, here's what I suggest you do. At least twice a year, not around a convention, and certainly not at an incentive trip. No corporate function. Go to the home office and spend a day. And the word of the day for that day is gratitude. That's all I want you to do. Just tell them thank you. I appreciate you. I know the sacrifice is a lot. On behalf of the field, we're grateful. Bring flowers for customer service department, buy pizza for the warehouse, whatever you got to do. But be a nice person representing coming in. And when the executives, you ask them to take them to lunch and all that stuff, and some of you are in position of leadership. Here's what most people do. They bring their list. Don't bring your list. Don't bring your list. And the executives are going to, number one, be worried. Why are you coming here? What's going on? Is this okay? Everybody clean up the office because this leader's coming in. Watch out. I don't know what's going to happen, but then you need to go to that lunch with them and they're going to sit there and politely wonder what you're going to bring. And then don't bring anything. Don't bring anything. And buy them lunch. Don't let them buy. And just say thanks. I'm just here to say thanks. You know, I'm going to do my part. I know you're doing your part. I'm grateful. And they're going to say, you really didn't come here for anything? No, I'm good. Well, we're open to suggestions. Don't buy into that one. Say, no, everything's good. Just thanks. And when you leave, because they're going to wait for the shoe to drop. It's not, and it doesn't drop. It's weird. And when you get in the car and you drive off, they're going to look at each other and just say, what just happened? Now, one complaint, all it was thank you. They're grateful. We got all kinds of problems. And they didn't even bring up one of them. All they did was say thanks. Huh. They immediately put you in a different category. Now you're in this non-complaining, grateful category. Now you get the benefit of the doubt if somebody tells a lie about you. Now, if there's some drama, you get the benefit of the doubt. You're going to get a call first, right? With people inside your office, anytime somebody does something good, send them an email just expressing how grateful you are, and copy their supervisor, copy the CEO, copy the president. Those things get posted up all over the walls inside of those companies. All these little expressed gratitudes. Don't just keep it private, but give them that gift. As an employee, you know how valuable that gift is inside of a company? It's huge. When you go to the incentive trip, don't be one of those people that books up your CEO. He's sitting in his villa in Hawaii and can never leave, doesn't get to see the beach for 5 seconds because he's booked in meeting after meeting, bitch session after bitch session, all day long, every day, all day. And believe me, all those executives are enduring it. They're waiting for it to be over. They're not really taking any notes. They're just putting you in a category. That's all they're doing. You're not accomplishing anything. So one, be a friend. Be an ally. Be grateful. Be supportive. And after you've earned, and then they're going to test you. If they're smart, they're going to test you with something unimportant and say, this is important, it just stays with us. They're going to give you a test, I promise, all of them will. And if they hear it back from some other source, then they put you in a category. They know that they can't talk to you about stuff that is confidential. Make sure that you are good with their confidence and you are trustworthy. If you do this, it take a little time, plus performance. You can't just politician your way there. You have to perform in addition. If you do this, they'll test you and they'll slowly bring you closer and closer and closer. We're thinking about this with the comp plan. We're thinking about this with the product. We're thinking about this with a product launch. We're thinking about this for convention location. We're thinking about this. We're thinking about that. We're thinking about this, right? Here's the final part of working into the inner circle. And it's very valuable to be there. I'm not talking about advisory boards. Advisory boards are bullshit, just so you know. They're just political window dressing. That's all they are. Companies put them together so people can sit on them and kind of brag that they're on the advisory board member, all of this stuff. They endure these advisory board meetings. They don't make any real policy changes in these advisory board meetings. I'm just telling you how it is. Now, should you be in the advisory board?
Yes.
If you're invited, of course. Just know what it is, know your role, be a team player, and don't let people make stupid mistakes. That's your job inside of advisory board. Don't let people get all wound up. But to be in the real inner circle, here's the price you have to pay. Nobody ever gets to know. You can't tell anybody ever. CEO just called me, wanted to know what I thought. Founder just called me. We're tight, founder and me.
There's angels popping.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wanted to get my advice. Do that once and you're out. But if you're in, it's very valuable. Now, not a lot of you are going to find your way into that inner circle, but those that do, it's in your best interest. One, it buys you protection against malicious actors. It buys you the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes you can give the field, and you have to have the wisdom to not always only have your agenda in the conversation. You got to be willing to look at what the company needs to have happen, what it has to have for its bottom line, because most leaders that try to get close to the company are always trying to tweak. They're trying to tweak something that somehow, some way is going to end up benefiting them. You got to be willing to even back up in some of your benefit in order to be able to help other people and the rest of the company and the company thrive long term. So we have some who's corporate in the room? We have some corporate people. Am I accurate? Am I accurate? Yes, 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 yes. Doesn't take long. You make the wrong person cry in customer service, they'll put you in a category for the rest of your life. You made Sally cry. They made Sally. Who made Sally cry? Be careful. All right. So listen, same thing applies. Consistency of how you show up, independent problem solver, consistent, big vision. We're going to spend a little time in a moment talking about vision. I have a guest who's going to jump on. If they're ready, is my guest ready? Perfect.
They're done.
And then creating action. Our ultimate job is to get people to do a little bit more than they would have done. To take more action than they would have taken. That's what leaders do. Okay. Now, next person I'm going to bring up is a leader, trainer, and a dear friend. And I asked him to talk about something that he doesn't normally lean into. He leans into kind of specific category, but he is an observer of leadership as well. He's an observer of top leaders as well. He sees the things that are in common with those people, and I want him to share it with you. So please welcome from Dubai, my friend, Fraser Brooks.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys can sit down. I appreciate you standing up. I really do. Guys, first and foremost, I am so sorry that I can't be there in person. My plan was to be there. I was saying to Eric, like, I'm super excited to be there, super excited to give everyone high fives and hugs and be a big part of this community, because I believe, even though I run my own events, and even though I've been to many events all over the world, I truly believe that this is the most important event in the network marketing calendar. Genuinely, every year. And if you're watching this and you haven't already planned to get your ticket for next year, it's got to be done. But about 4 or 5 days ago, we have a baby girl. She's 11 months old. Her name's Mia. And about 5 days ago, she started making these interesting noises. And I'm thinking, these noises are sounding very similar to I don't know, maybe a mama, maybe a papa, maybe a dada, I don't know. And also she started walking like quite steadily along like the tables and the ledges. And I texted Eric, and Eric said, hey, you're going to be able to make it. I know you got the baby and stuff. It's a long way to come. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay at home, because the idea of missing her saying her first words or taking her first steps would just kill me. And I know a lot of you guys have made the sacrifice to be there, and I'm so proud of you. And on Thursday morning, we go for a walk. We're on the 47th floor here in Dubai. We go for a walk, and we're taking the elevator up. And she turns around to Svetlana, my wife, and just goes, Mama. And it just validated the reason. And last night she turned around to me and she went, Dada. So I'm super excited that I was able to share that. But before I kind of just share with you, I know it's kind of crazy, right? I know a lot of you guys have gone through it, and I'm super excited about that. Before I kind of just share some things that I've identified, I'm going to kind of go more online, because that's my like real, I don't know, exciting part of the space. I just got to say a massive thank you to Eric and Marina Worre. I'm going to get emotional when I say it, because I can't think about, there's only three people in the world that I think about that just make me flooded with tears every time I think about them. And I've got to tell you, 2018 GoPro, if anyone was in 2018 GoPro MGM Grand, right? Amazing. Eric invited me over. I was super jet lagged. I was speaking on the first day. I had shoes from a shop called Aldo. They cost about $60, and everyone was doing the shoe cam, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, they don't want to do a shoe cam on me because I'll break the camera. These shoes were that bad, right? And I'm going to registration. I think the event was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sorry, a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I go to like the VIP registration, and a friend who I went with said, she's speaking with you. She's speaking with you. And I said, the one with the blue hair? She said, yeah, like that one. I'm like, what's her name? He said, I think it's Jessie. I'm like, Jessie, all right, Jessie. So I go up and say, hey, Jessie, I hear we're speaking. She turns around. It's Jessie Lee, actually. And I was like hit in the face with a ton of bricks, and I liked it. It was nice. And she spoke on stage. I spoke after her. I became very, very good friends. So I have to just say a big thank you to Eric and Marina, because without you guys, I would not have had that connection with her. And I really thank you for that, because she meant the world to me, as I know she did for the rest of you guys. I knew that'd be hard. All right, so let's try and compose. All right, so in my opinion, guys, network marketing is very simple, but we tend to confuse it or complicate it in 3 areas: our mindset, our environment, and the lack of skills that we have. That's it, really. Like it's a very simple business. I believe Eric has said it, it's not easy, but it's definitely better. Or it's not perfect, but it's definitely better. And for me, again, it's the mindset. We overthink things. Our environment, we let people, say it's a pyramid thing, or it's a scam, or it's one of those things. We let people say that, and it affects our mindset, or it's a lack of skills. But the first thing that I really want you to make a change with, right? When you challenge yourself, you have the opportunity to change yourself. The word, the first few letters and the last few letters of the word challenge is change. But I want you to start thinking about when you wake up in the morning and you pick up your phone, because a lot of you guys sleep with the phone next to your bed. I do. Why? Because it's my gateway to the entire world. It's my gateway to opportunity. Anyone who says, leave your phone in the drawer in the kitchen. Why? Why would I want to leave opportunity in the kitchen? Why would I want to leave opportunity face down underneath my shoes in a dark closet? I want it to be right next to me. I want opportunity, but here's the problem. You wake up and you look at your phone and straight away you see all the drama, all the negativity, all the moaning, the whinging, the bitching coming from your team. I haven't had my products yet. Oh, I ordered 4 bottles and I only got 3. Oh, I heard that Sally made an order like 3 minutes before me and she got her order like 5 minutes before I did. That's not fair. It's favoritism. Right? So straight away, how does that affect your mood? You're not waking up laughing, right? You're not waking up like, oh, this day's going to be a good day. You're waking up going, oh, God, this network marketing thing, what have I done? So you have to understand that you have a prospect platform, which is Facebook and Instagram. And you have a team platform, which is, your prospect platform is Facebook, Instagram. Your team communication platforms are WhatsApp, Telegram, iMessenger, right? These are the different platforms. So you've got to get your team straight away from Facebook and away from Instagram. If you want to know the algorithm insights as well, though we shouldn't be attached to the algorithm, the more team that you have following you, the more team that you have engaging with you on social media, guess what? The more of the people in your company are going to see your posts. So you've got to get them off your social media, but it's good for engagement. It's good for your engagement because you have a big team. But what about the people who are just getting started? Okay, so first point, we want to get our team off of the social media platforms messages and put it on onto that message, onto Telegram, onto WhatsApp, whatever it might be. Okay. The second point of this is something that I really struggle because I'm like Eric, right? I don't really like conflict. I also realized very early on that if you fall in love with your team, you will get heartbroken. That's what I learned really, really early on. And I thought that, especially on social media, because I was adapting it really, really early, if I got a message from Sandro, I'd be like, oh, I've seen it, reply. And he's like, whoa, that was such a fast response. I'm like, I know, I'm really good at responding. Did that make me a good leader? No, it made me a bad one. Why? Because everyone was like, well, Fraser knows the answer. He's super, super quick. Boom, 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 boom. So I was getting hit with all these different directions, all these different questions. And I wake up in the morning, 8 a.m., and then it's 9 p.m. I'm settling down for the rest of the night, settling down to do some Zoom calls. And I'm thinking, I've not prospected. I've just been the manager, managing managers who manage managers, managing no one because they've got no one to manage. So I'm like, hang on a minute. I need to get all my team off of the prospecting platforms. And I need to hit the prospecting platforms hard in the morning. Why? Because building is energy, maintaining is fatigue. Can anyone relate to that? When you're building and you get a new sign up, you get a new customer, you get that email, you're like, come on, get in, vamos, let's go. I don't know what it is in like Italian or German or Arabic. I don't know. I'll learn that for next time, right? You celebrate that. It's exciting. But when you get dealing with all the drama, you just like, oh, if I get another one of these messages again, I'm probably going to open the balcony. I'm probably going to open the window and just jump off the balcony, right? Because it would be less painful, right? It's a nightmare. All right. Number 2, drop a 1 in the chat, 2 in the chat, 3 in the chat, whatever number you want to put in. I'll let you decide. If you train your team or coach your team or mentor your team on a Zoom call, right? Like one-to-one Zoom call, Skype call, for those of you who I remember Skype, for our old school network marketers who use technology, were like, Skype, yes, best invention ever, thank you so much, right? If you use FaceTime, if you're not, you're missing out, right? But here's the problem. Your team message you, they say, hey, Fraser, have you got 5 minutes free? And you're like, yeah, I've got 5 minutes free. Your time is not free to begin with. What did Eric just say? Don't give trade. Okay, so do this and we'll jump on a Zoom. But here's what I did. I leveraged technology to be able to mentor teams all over the world. And I still do it today when I have the opportunity to jump on calls with leaders around the world. The first few minutes might be friendly stuff, a bit of banter here, relationship building, right? Peeling the layers of the onion to find out, find those commonalities, find that bond. But there comes a time where I need to be mentor. And I always struggled being the mentor when I was also the friend. So here's what I did. I got a cap. Now, I look like an idiot with any hats, right? I just like a hard hat, a beanie hat, a flat cap, a baseball cap. If I put it backwards, I look like I should be locked up, right? It just does not suit me at all. But I would say, listen, your friend Fraser is coming off the Zoom, but when he comes back, it's going to be Mentor Fraser. And he's going to deal with your challenges, right? We're going to attack one challenge today. I'm going to give you an assignment, and then we'll book another call when that time comes, when you face another assignment. So I would turn the camera off, I would put the hat on, and I would turn the camera back on. And that was me telling me I've got permission to be mentor Fraser, and it was telling my team, Fraser, mentor Fraser's going to probably give us some hard love, some tough love. He's going to slap us with the truth. Okay? So number one, we need to keep our prospects platform clean from the drama is going to happen, and we're going to put that onto the communication platforms. Number two is obviously then when you're building online, when you're using social media, when you're using virtual platforms, to make sure that there's some sort of definitive transition from the friend, like I love you, you love me, yeah, great team, whatever, to mentor time. Number three is something that we've been trialing and testing on Instagram, and TikTok, which I think you guys are going to love. I couldn't not give social media tips when it comes to like leadership and stuff. And we helped in particular someone in Jordan, his name's Abada, shout out to Abada, in Jordan, go from $30,000 a month in revenue to over $1 million a month in revenue, I think in 5 or 6 months, using what we call remixes. So I'm not going to teach you how to do it. I haven't got the time to do that. You can go onto YouTube, be the leader. You can go on YouTube, magic board. You can be the leader, go onto YouTube and go, how to remix Instagram Reel, right? That's what you're going to do. Now, here's what the leader is going to do, right? The follower is going to find a post that you can remix. The leader is going to create 10 faceless demonstrations of the product, okay? Now, let's imagine this is a glass of water, because it is. The video is going to be phone here, glass of water, rip up the sachet, pour it in, twist it round, right? If it's skincare, you might want to use the side of your face. If it's cosmetics, use the other side of your face. And then what people can do is they can go onto that reel, they can click on the 3 buttons, they can click remix, and they can then post your video with their own voice. Now, again, I haven't got the time. I've got like 2 or 3 minutes left. I haven't got the time to share with you exactly how you're going to do this. You can go onto YouTube and you can just type in how you actually do it, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea is that you are going, as the leader, you are going to create the 10 videos that demonstrates the product, that talks about the results of the product, that talks about the idea or the transformation that people can have when they use the product, right? Because you have the belief in the product, and then people are simply going to remix that, and they're going to post all 10 in one day. Oh, Fraser, what do I post? I'm just launching on social media. I'm brand new. I don't know what to do. Go find those 10 reels. Bang. Remix. 10 in a day. Oh, is that not too many posts in a day? No. Go do it. As I said, Abada's done this 35x revenue, and he was doing all right. So, as I kind of wrap up here, I don't have too much time left, but for me, leadership is the action of leading a group or an organization. That's all it is. Quite simple. And I've always imagined it that when I'm in a car and there's a packed car, maybe it's a van and there's 10 people in this van, and you're stuck at like a traffic light, and there's 3 ways to go. There's left, there's forward, there's right. And you don't know where you're going. Google Maps was not a thing, TomToms weren't a thing, sat-navs weren't a thing, and you don't know where to go. There's one person who goes straight. It's straight up and it's left at the second set of lights. You listen to that person. Not because they believe, right? Belief is amazing. We love belief. But there's one other thing that everyone needs as a leader. And I'm going to give you another analogy to prove it. And I'll tell you what it is. So for the women out there, you come home from work, you come home from walking the dog, you come home from the gym, you come home from spending time with the kids, you whatever it is, you come home and your husband's there lying on the sofa on his phone. And you turn to him and you say, Bob, let's just imagine his name is Bob. If your husband's name's not Bob, just imagine it is in this situation. Say, Bob, am I the woman of your dreams? He looks at you and goes, huh? Well, that's a weird question. Am I the woman of your dreams? And Bob goes, yeah, I believe so. I'm pretty sure. I think, yeah. Yeah, you're the woman of my dreams. Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
I'm not.
Not so great.
Right. Beat him.
What about this? You come home from work, whatever you've been doing, you've gone to the gym, you come home, Bob's on his phone. Bob,
Bob's your uncle.
am I the woman of your dreams? He throws his phone on the side. He goes, ask that again. Am I the woman of your dreams? He puts his hand on your shoulders, no, on the shoulders, and he looks you dead in the eye and says, I can't imagine even the idea of not meeting you. You are 1000% the woman of my dreams.
Oh.
Belief is level 1. Certainty is another level. Sandro Casato in the room. He's certain. Mariana Markovic, she is certain. Giordano Caretta is certain. Julia Baylor is certain. Giordano Tribaldo, Caretta is certain. Giorgio Tribaldo is certain. Alex Morton is certain. Colton Ashave is certain. Andrew Keaton is certain. Rakan Khalifa is certain. And you've got to be certain too by plugging into this event. Last thing, and I'm gone. Last thing, and I'm gone. I know there's an event coming up called Beyond Leadership. And to me, this is the event that Jesse Lee would talk to me about the most. And it's the event that I needed at a certain time in my network marketing event. For those of you who don't know my story, and I'll end on this in 2 minutes. When I got started in network marketing, my dad was an 8-figure income earner in the network marketing space. My network marketing career, I was in the womb. My dad thought that MLM stood for Make Love Monthly. And he took my pregnant mom, his wife, in the event. I was sat there, he was elbowing me in the head, saying, if they can do it, so can I. You know, on social media now, we don't have that. We go, if I have to be like her to win, I won't win. We've got to get people in the room to get that inspiration. But my dad was so good. He was so good, a master, a network marketing pro, that I let his incredibleness be my excuse why I didn't need to become a leader. He's so good, I'm just going to put people in front of him. He's so good, I'm going to let him lead my team. He's so good, I'm going to say, hey, Dad, I've got a business blowing up in Kazakhstan. Get on a plane. He's so good, I would not be building the business as well as him. Why would I waste my time? And you know what? We went to events and people would come up, even when I was a kid. Are you Simon's son? Yeah, I'm Simon's son. Are you Simon's son? Yeah, I'm Simon's. Are you Simon's son? Yeah. Are you Simon's son? Yeah, I'm Simon's son. You're Simon's son, right? Yeah, I'm Simon's son. Simon's son. Yeah, that's me. It became my identity. It became my identity. Until one day, I thought, why am I living in his shadows? Why am I letting that be my identity when I can step up and be who I need to be able to lead things the way I can see it? Now, always edified him, always did it hand in hand. But I kept doing what I'm doing. A lot of you guys follow my stuff and you can see what I'm doing. And we held an event in April here in Dubai. We do it every year. And I invited my dad to the event. And my dad, he's the Simon Cowell of network marketing. He'll just tell you straight and you'll either love him or you'll hate him. So he comes up to me and he says, Fraser, and he starts crying. And I don't see my dad cry very often. He said, I just had the best moment of my entire life. I said, did mom give birth to another child? I didn't know about that. It'd be a bit weird, but I'm sure Gary Brecker would have a reason how that happened. And he said, someone just said, he just came up to my dad and said, are you Fraser's dad? And we both cried together. And I'm like, how did it feel? And he said, that is what true success is. And if I didn't become the leader to allow you to become the leader, I would not have had the most important moment of my entire life. So get to Beyond Leadership. Do whatever you can. Be the leader that you need to be, whether you believe it or not, because you're going to get the certainty. Eric's going to give you that. Marina's going to give you that, because I know this is the best environment in the world that you will ever be involved in any industry. Eric, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, brother.
Fraser Brooks, everybody give it up for our friend Fraser. It's the middle of the night in Dubai. My man. I love you, brother. All right. I want you, if you have notes, I want you to sketch something out. Okay? If you have notes, I want you to sketch something out. What you're looking for, start at the top, is people who are willing, coachable, don't even know how to spell.
Me after 2 days. Everything.
Willing,
Brain rot.
coachable, and hungry. That's what you're looking for. That's the first inventory that you need to take. Who on your team is willing, coachable, and hungry? Okay? What we're trying to do is develop you and everybody on your team into actual leaders, not just earners, actual leaders. And actual leaders are independent, problem solvers, consistent, big vision. We're going to talk more about vision this afternoon. And they create action. Now, the tools that we use with this group to get these attributes are assignments. We give people assignments that will help them create action. We give them assignments. Like how many assignments have I given you over the course of the last couple of days? A lot, right? I speak an assignment constantly. I gave you an assignment to rewrite this on a piece of paper just a second ago. Yes, some of you followed it, some of you didn't. You're just going to try and keep it in your head. It's fine. Not fine, but it's fine. Assignments, number one. Number two is challenges. We're going to use challenge to get people to take action that they wouldn't have taken. What did we do when we took an hour to just start a bunch of conversations? I challenged you to see if you can get 100 done in an hour. I challenged you to stay focused. Was it interesting how easy you could lose your focus? How many times you looked up and just like, we're still doing this? Right? It was 1 hour of focused activity. You create the right activity at the right time, you're good. Sometimes you need a challenge. If you have somebody competitive, they need a challenge. People are ready to rise to a challenge, but you have to be the one to articulate it with a vision, with compassion, with the right energy, right? Solving problems along the way. Here's the challenge. Number 3 is stories. Great leaders use stories to get people to take action. They use stories to help people understand. They use stories to inspire, to motivate, to educate. This is as old as time. People are going to forget. Don't quite have it all in the frame. I'll go sideways. 4 over here, I'll just put vision. These are the 4 tools that you use with people who are willing, hungry, and coachable. You're going to use these tools whether they're willing, coachable, or hungry anyway, but you're going to pay attention to the ones that actually do it. If you give an assignment to 10 people, pay attention to the ones that actually follow through on the assignment. If you challenge 5 people, pay attention to the ones that accept the challenge, right? Pay attention to the people who are hearing the stories and taking different action. Pay attention to ones that listen to the vision, are inspired to do more than they were going to do. These are the languages, the 4 leadership languages: assignments, challenge, stories, and vision. Take any leader, anywhere, in any walk of life, break down any of their communication, and you will find assignments, challenge, stories, and vision in that language. Every speech, every conversation, every talk. When you become a high-level leader, you'll mostly be using vision. The highest, biggest, most powerful leaders they're mostly using vision. Here's why we're doing it. Here's why it's worth it. Here's where we're gonna go. Here's what it's gonna do. Here's the people we're gonna help. See what I mean? Vision. Why should I take this action that's uncomfortable? Because here's the vision. It's mission driven, it's purpose driven, it's cause driven,
I'm on the phone, like.
it's contribution driven. Vision.
In the background.
But I use these all the time. And I will tell you, I'll give you one challenge or assignment, whichever you like. Put those 4 words
You're welcome.
like in front of you next time you do a Zoom with your team. And don't let the Zoom conclude without all 4 happening in the Zoom. Make sure there's a story. Make sure there's a vision. Make sure we got out of focus. Can somebody focus this thing? I must have hit something. Make sure there's a vision. Make sure there's stories. Make sure there's a challenge. Thank you. Make sure. And try to end every communication with an assignment. We call it a call to action. You can talk and talk and talk for an hour. Make sure when you finish, it's finished with an assignment. Okay? What did I do? Screwed it up. Look at you, pants.
SpongeBob pants.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Bye-bye. So,
Like the casino.
assignments, challenge, stories, vision. This is going to take some practice. And I want you to just pay attention to it. Here's where I want you to start. Start with assignments. And I don't even care what the assignment is. Just pay attention to who follows through on the assignment. Start small, start big, doesn't matter. If I find somebody that's willing, coachable, and hungry, I'm going to try to give them an assignment that'll start them towards their goal based upon their ambition. And somebody says, I want to get there immediately, and a 10 is the most difficult assignment and a 1 is the easiest assignment. And they say, I want to change the world and I want to do it now and I'm ready to go. I'll do anything. I'll crawl over broken glass. You give them an 8 based upon that assignment difficulty. Here's our core rank. Some people get, you want to change the world. Some people take 30, 60 days to get there. Some people don't get there at all, but let's see if we can get you there in a week. That would be like an 8, wouldn't it? Something like that. Now you have to break down the game plan. How are you going to make that happen? Now, if they don't do it, then that's okay. Lower it to a 5. If that doesn't happen, okay, lower it to a 3. Until you find their level of acceptance, they say, okay, their fear threshold that they'll actually take an action, and then lean into that. Get some repetitions there. And once you get the repetitions there, increase the difficulty, increase the difficulty, increase the difficulty. And now, once you get them into action, they start getting checked, they start moving through. Say, you listen, let me tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking to develop real leaders. These are the 5 things that I'm looking for. So in addition to using these 4 tools that match with your willingness, hungry, and coachable, in addition to using these in order to just get you some action, some results, a paycheck, start building a team, get to core rank, go to the convention, I want to develop you into a leader if you're ready. Would you like to learn the skills necessary to be a leader? Yes or no? Would you like to be put on this path? I'm going to be using these same tools to do it. I'm going to be challenging you to be more independent, a bigger problem solver, more consistent, bigger vision, ability to communicate it, and I'm going to turn you into something that creates action, a walking, talking action machine. You up for that? Now, not everybody's going to be up for that, just so you know. Most of you in this room are up for some level of that, right? How many people are up for becoming a great leader? Raise your hands. Okay. Including the people at home. Fantastic. So, look. This little framework, we start with basic building blocks. Conversation. Presentation. Enrollment. Customers. Core rank. Events. Attending events, those types of things. Why are we doing that? You remember from yesterday? What are we trying to do? Remember? Trying to buy time. We're trying to buy time. We're using all these to buy time. Let me explain buying time. I want to show you this concept. I call over the line. On this side of the line, it's easier to stay in your business and do the things and become a network marketing professional. And on this side of the line, it's easier to quit emotionally. And if every person that joins your business is on one side of the line or the other. You know what our job is? Is to get them over the line and help them stay over the line. So let's talk about, I want you guys to help me. What's some things that could happen or they could do that would cause them emotionally for it to be easier for them to stay? Meet a friend. If they make a friend, isn't that something? I thought it would be like rank advancement. I get an award. No. Sometimes they'll stay if there's a friend. It keeps them around a little bit longer. They meet somebody, they'll hang out a little bit longer. If they make a friend, what else? They earn a commission of any sort. You want to hear a crazy statistic? Here's a crazy big data statistic. If you take a person who signs up in their enrollment month plus 90 days, if they don't earn any money in that period of time, how many of them are still active in their business as a percentage? They're still ordering monthly or whatever, they're qualified to earn commissions. What percentage would you think? If they don't earn any money, they're signed up month plus 90 days. It's about 20%. A lot of those are just customers. They're using the product, they're having fun with the product. They haven't faced the fear of building a business yet, but now if they earn $1, one single dollar in that same period of time, sign up month plus 3 months, what do you think the retention is of that? 74%.
Wow.
$1. I have corporate executives say, can we just send out $1, please? I'm like, no, it doesn't quite work that way. $1, 74, well, not 74% more likely to be fair. It's more like 350% more likely. Because they were 20%, now they're 74%. No, not earner versus earner. But he's quick. So if they earn $1, so is there something you can do to help a person earn $1? Can you dig? Remember I told you every person on your team is worth $10,000 a year to you? If you go get it, it starts with the first $1. So help them find a customer. Help them do a presentation. Help them get from dependent to independent. So what else? A good product experience. They become emotionally attached to your product. What else? Sorry? Recognition. They get recognized. Personal development? Sure. How many people have stayed in your group because of the personal development when they didn't build a lot of success in the business? A lot. Community?
I just said that exact same thing.
If they earn any prize, a trip, any kind of prize. What else? They sign somebody up, they enroll someone. Now they got a team. They can't abandon their team. They add a customer. They attend an event. If they put out an engaging social media post, if they get some positive reinforcement from social media, okay. Here's what I would also say. If they proclaim themselves, they're much more likely to stay around. So if they say, I joined this company and I'm going to the top, and they tell the world, they're much more likely to stay around than if they just hide and don't say anything. Remember I told you yesterday, radical recognition.
Public
So
accountability.
if you post when they join and you congratulate them and you tag your company and you tag them, you kind of proclaim themselves for them. Get their permission, but it's a great gift to be out there. Like, I guess I'm out there now. I don't want to be the one that says, yeah, I only did that for a minute.
You're gonna
What else could you do?
Or this person's gonna be amazing, or, you know, like kind of positive reinforcement.
Family buy-in, get support from family.
Ooh, the way he just made his.
Give them some
piece.
responsibility
Up in curve like that.
within the team. Stay connected, team calls, etc.
I think it's just the marker that does that though.
Rank advancement. What else?
What they just said.
Communication, if you stay in communication. What else? If you had that crucial conversation with them at the very beginning, would that cause more people to stay? Yeah, so if you, the crucial conversation we talked about yesterday, good relationship. I guess it's okay. If I don't want a bad relationship with your upline to be a limiting belief as to why a person wouldn't be successful, because for a lot of really successful people, what made them successful is they had a bad upline. It's kind of weird. But, you know, if there's a support system, or if there's let's say there's a great system that they can plug into, let's just call it that. Yes. If they buy into the vision or the mission of the group or of the company, yeah, if they host something, a meeting, whatever, a call, pretty good list, yeah? We could keep going, but do we kind of have the framework? Right, so this is all the things that we can do as leaders to make it easier for people to stay. What's on this side? The opposite of all those things. They don't ever meet anybody. They don't make any money. They don't get connected and use the product and get emotional product results. They don't get recognized. They don't engage in any personal development. They're not connected to the community. They don't win anything. They don't enroll anybody. They don't get any customers. They're not plugged into the system. They don't host anything. They don't attend events. They don't get any results on social media. They never proclaim themselves. They don't get support or find support. They're not given any responsibility. They're not connected. They don't rank advanced. They're not in communication with the team. Nobody had the crucial conversation with them, and they never understood the vision or the mission. That's the opposite, right? This is something we control. So here's what I want you to understand as a leader, right? You enroll someone. Welcome to the team. My goal is to help you become independent for me as quickly as possible. Do you agree that's a good goal? Yes. How long you want to take to happen? I want to get there 6 months. Fantastic. Here's all I need from you. Willing, coachable, hungry. Those 3 things, you're going to get my personal time. Without that, you'll get all the group time in the world. But if you want my personal time, I just need those 3 things. So those aren't unreasonable, are they? I want to try and make it so comfortable for you to work in our business and so to have you feel so welcomed. There's a clear path. It's easy to do. We're going to be able, we might work hard at it, but I'm going to give you step by step how to do it. And I'm going to do everything I can to help you get off to as good a start as possible with the goal of helping you become independent. You're going to have to take some steps. I'm going to be using assignments primarily. Every once in a while, I'll challenge you. I'll tell you some stories. I'll introduce you to some people. And here's why we're doing this. I'll let the person know the vision. You do this at the ground base level. And then from this, once you get them here, what I want you to understand is when you get somebody over the line and it's easier to stay, the line never goes away. Hear me. If somebody stays to your core rank for 5 years, do they start leaning towards easier to quit? If they only make a check one time, but they don't make a check again, does it make it easier to quit? Yes. If they never step into leadership, does it make it easier for them to quit? If they don't attend your corporate events, does it make it easier for them to quit? So there's things you're going to need to do constantly. This line never, ever goes away. Well, you mean if they're making $50,000 a year, it doesn't go away? Nope, it doesn't go away. 100,000 a year, still doesn't go away. $500,000 a year. I've seen people walk away from companies making $500,000 a year all the time. It's crazy to me, but they do. $1 million a year? The line still doesn't go away, kids. Wow. Now we need leadership. Now we need leadership. So this afternoon, I'm going to be talking to you about vision, how to strengthen it, exactly what to do as you're going to be building your culture, what you're known for. And I'm going to be talking to you about systems, very specific on systems. But before I do that, I had a bunch of questions last night and a bunch of texts this morning. Let me just describe for you the different decisions that are available for you to make to be able to accelerate your growth if you want to. Okay. First, we have Next Level Mastermind. This is only for $250,000 earners and above. That's all, there's only people eligible to be part of that. It's an annual program. You have the information about that. You can learn about that if you're a $250,000 earner. There's a button online, or you can find in the lobby what that is. Second, we have Beyond Leadership. This is a 4-day event. I'm blurry again. God, what am I doing?
Like the way he starts it. What? He does get his piece funny, the way he like starts it. You fixed it this time.
Not such a techie.
For a fee, you're supposed to go down. Up to the ground. What does he do? He goes like.
Scared to touch it now. In February, 4-day event in person here in this room. And this is for people who have some fundamental skills, but they need to strengthen the leaders on their team, or they need to strengthen their own leadership, and they need to strengthen the leaders on their team. So this is about developing stronger leadership.
He almost does it like the way you draw a G.
Systems. How do you get more productivity out of your team? Like I said, from this group, more 6- and 7-figure earners than anything I've ever done, in my opinion. It's just,
right.
It's a big thing. And then we have the Breakthrough Boot Camp. Starts the first week of January. It's 21 weeks with me. This is if you need to get unstuck in your mindset, your skills, your recruiting results, and your duplication. So if you're stuck, mindset, if you need to get some basic fundamental skills, start here. Okay, if you have these fundamental skills and you need to strengthen your leadership or help your team become better leaders, go here. If you want to build an empire, this is the elite. The average in this group, minimum is 250. The average in this group is about $950,000 a year, just under $1 million a year. Very powerful group. Okay, but it's only for 250 plus. Now, I want to talk to this group for a moment. You want to truly create leverage? If you have people who are eligible on your team that could be in here, bring them in with you. If you don't, but you have people who have skills but aren't the leader that they should be, get them in here at scale. Get as many people who seriously want to be a leader as possible into these 4 days, and let me rewire their brains to think more like leaders in that event. 4 days. And if you have people who are willing, coachable, and hungry, but don't have the skills, get them in here. I'll spend 21 weeks with them. So here's what we did. I'm going to throw this. And this was intended the whole time. This Beyond Leadership is $10,000 for those 4 days. This Breakthrough Boot Camp is $3,000. There's payment plans for both. For the people who do this today, and I want you, those of you in high levels of leadership, people who do either one of these today, I told you my love language is contribution. I want to help reach as many people as possible. I want to help you do the same thing. I want to turn you into superheroes. I want everybody in your team to be excited, empowered, equipped to be able to take advantage of this moment. This next 2 years is going to change everything. So anybody who makes the decision to do Beyond Leadership or the Breakthrough Boot Camp today, between now and midnight, including everybody online, you got buttons to go check it out, or people, program experts you can go talk to. If you get a ticket to Beyond Leadership, I will gift you a second one. That you can find somebody on your team that needs this. That if you went and grew together, if you attended together, the two of you could create a powerful force. Who's somebody on your team that is ready for this, super hungry, that you can identify and say, I'm bringing you with me? So you get this, you'll have the ability to gift it to somebody in addition to yourself, no extra charge. Same thing true with the Breakthrough Boot Camp. So if you get the Breakthrough Boot Camp, 21 weeks live with me, you get the Breakthrough Boot Camp. I'm going to give you the ability, you took the action, to gift it or sell it if you want. I know some of you are like, well, I can figure out a way to make this cheaper. Fine. Gift it or share the expense with somebody in your team. But I want you to reach into your team mentally and think about who's willing, hungry, coachable, who really wants this. And if we go do this together, it'll be powerful. Now, those of you next level mastermind, you go get 10 or 20 people in your group or 100 people into the Breakthrough Boot Camp, how to unstuck yourself. And they each handpick one person within their organization and say, come with me, let's go do it.
But when he says that, so.
You be a hero to them, do it together. Together, I'm just telling you, when you do it together, you're going to gain strength. Big time. You're going to learn more. Your organization's going to go faster.
Yeah.
So this,
It's like a specific.
you buy one, you can gift one. You buy one, you can gift one. For these two, it's only today. It's only today, by midnight tonight. Make a decision by midnight tonight. I'm going to make that available. Here's why. I want you to absolutely crush. I want you to go out there equipped to capture the moment. I want you to smash all the limiting beliefs. I want you to fill them with empowering beliefs. I want you to get out of your excuses. I want you to get out of your own way. And I want you to go capture this thing. There's fortunes to be had if you're prepared. And I think I can help you prepare. Okay. So I want you to think about this as I'm gonna go back to Robbie here in a moment. Think about this, talk to a program expert, click on the button, talk to a program expert. Anybody who already bought yesterday, obviously, you're gonna get the same thing. I'm not gonna like penalize you because you joined early. I got you. You could talk to people in the program thing here. If you have questions, you can sign up for any of those things, or you can talk to people here in person, okay? How many people got value from Gary Breck, Fraser Brooks, and myself this morning?
Yay.
All right, I'm gonna bring Robbie out this afternoon, just so you know. This afternoon, systems,
She just started it in October.
tools, resources, game plan, goals, how to map out 2024 to make it your best year ever. That's what we're gonna cover. This is at least what I'm gonna cover this afternoon. So, all right, welcome back, Robbie Law.
You almost got free coming up. That was a long time. Everybody let's stand up just a little bit. I know you want to. I know you want to. We're still sitting down. We're comfortable. Come on, stand up, everybody. Let's go. Have some fun right now. Right? There are people watching you at home. I see some dancers at home as well. All right. I got it. That's it. First of all, you know, I have such you know, when I watch Eric and the way he trains, every time I come back up here, I'm like, can I just like go back to his notes and then just go, remember what Eric said? Let's just focus there. Because what I don't want to do is distract from the value that he brings. So as this weekend has continued to transpire, I have watched Eric share different methods and ways where you personally can improve. And one of the thoughts that keeps coming to my mind is how at every level in this profession, we have pains and challenges that we deal with, and they tend to change as things expand. I don't know if you've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure as you gained momentum and you built leaders, that there were new challenges that came up. And at every step of the way, those new challenges need guidelines and rules to be able to move through that. So with the process that Eric has created with Network Marketing Pro and helping those to get the trainings necessary, he's really identified the key things that no matter where you're at, he knows exactly how to help you move forward. So I want to ask you, do you think Eric needs to be doing this? He talked about contribution just a moment ago. And I asked him once, I said, Eric, can you just like tell me why? Why are you this way? Why do you have this in you this way? He says, after 35 years of doing this, I want to just create impact, Robbie. And I've heard that before. Have you heard that from others? I want to create impact. Do you feel like Eric's creating true impact? What do you think? Now, he doesn't, do you feel like he needs anybody? Let's put that music on right now and start dancing. Oh, it's fine. So if Eric were to, train each and every one of us individually, do you feel like that additional training that you would receive would help take you to the next level? I can't hear you. Yeah. Well, does he have time to train each of you individually? Of course not. What Eric has done is created processes so that he can help you to engage your team, so that he can help you to train your team. One of the most important things that we can do as a leader is understand training, understand onboarding. How do we have that original crucial conversation with our team members so that we can fill them with the information that they need to help prepare their mindset, and as Eric was saying, but also to learn to discover their tolerance for pain, their tolerance for going through the tougher challenges that do exist. Now, as a leader, we have to have that capability of training, or we have to have a way to have training possible. Is it true that some are better trainers than others? What do you think? So when we have Eric, who's like the best trainer that I've ever seen, and I look at my team and I say, how can I train my team? What do you think would be the best approach for me as a leader so that I could help my team grow? Put him in front of who? Put him in front of Eric. These are simple ideas. And as we have each had the opportunity through these last few days to choose what our next steps look like, the whole time I was thinking, this is perfectly set up for someone who's a category 1. They need the mindset. They need to understand the specific ways where they can recruit effectively and create that duplication. And it's a perfect fit for some individuals. And for people in a room like this, maybe not for everyone, because you're already past that. You have the fundamental skills. Are there people on your team right now who could use those skills and that mindset? So when we look at that, I want each and every one of you to grab your pen and paper really fast. I think that Eric may have done this already, but I think repetition of good habits, is that a good thing? You know, we want to create good behaviors. This will be a good behavior. Now, earlier on day 1, we went and made 100 starts, 100 conversations. We're going to start that conversation. Let's just choose 5 right now. Just 5. Grab your pen and paper and write down 5 people on your team. Just 5 people on your team that are either a 1 or a 2. And as we're looking to identify them and we're saying, okay, who are these people? I want you to write their name right now. And as soon as you got it, who's got 5 written down? As soon as you got it, raise your hand. I want to see if someone's got it. Okay, you got your 5. You didn't write it down. Oh, you already did it. Yeah, you did it. Oh, so Eric put up on the screen, so you already started doing that. So now everybody grab your phone. Everybody grab your phone. We're going to send a text to these 5 people really quick. They might be sitting next to you even. Okay, grab your phone. We're going to send a quick text message to these 5 individuals. Now, you can do this however you want, but reach out to these individuals to let them know how much you appreciate them. Reach out to these individuals, let them know that you're here at GoPro and you just thought of them. And that you know what, you're the type of individual that's on my team that has specific desires, hunger, willing, coachable, all these things. Let them know and say, thank you for being part of my team. I'm excited to have you. Something to help them know that you know that they exist. Let's get 5 texts out to just someone who's on our team that we are going, we want to pour into you. Now, when we have a team of individuals, and if we could throw that slide up for me, if we have a team of individuals, how do we help people grow? You know, I was at a presentation once, and this young lady said, you know, wherever you water, that's where things are going to grow. Think about how we water our team. What happens to that team when we water them, when we give them the nourishment and the things that they need? We're watering our team right now. It's just one simple text message, but we're watering them. Recognition, is that important? So very important. This is exactly what you're doing right now. You're recognizing who they are. I see a lot of you taking the time to do this. Now, has anyone had a reply back yet from someone? All the way in the back. Can you tell me what they said? Let's get her from Mike. Thank you. First of all, let's hear what you said.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
I was kind of joking around because I know she's watching. So I just texted everything that you said. I said, I know you exist. I appreciate you. And she was laughing and she was saying, oh, I was hoping you'd message me. And I was like, I was kind of kidding, and I'm going to send her a real one.
What's her name?
Chanel.
Chanel. Ask them what room number Chanel's in. Or ask Chanel what room number she's in.
Chanel, what room number are you?
No, text
9.
her. I mean, she's like on the
Yeah, she said 9.
Yeah, find out. I want to put her on the screen here in a second. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, and the response back for her at this point is what? You're part of my team. What is the response? Yeah, so you responded back, but what is your response back to her now?
Oh, just to tell her right now.
Yeah, well, I just want to hear what the response would be. Let's do some dialogue here. So what would be the response back? She said, oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're thinking of me.
Well, I would just tell her I appreciate how she shows up, her energy, what she teaches me from, you know, I give to her, she gives so much more back to me with being a great mentee and friend. And yeah.
Thank you. What's your name?
Amy.
Amy, let's give Amy a round of applause. Thank you, Amy. So Amy reaches out to a team member. How do you think that felt when she got that? Now, she's right here. There she is. Hi, how are you? It's so fun to be able to do that. So when we do that, first of all, can we hear her?
Can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, we can. This is the best studio environment in the world. I can't believe we could do this, but there you are right here. So how did it feel to get that message?
Really good, honestly. Amy breathes and pours life into her team on a daily basis. So when I was on here and I heard that, I was like, I hope she messages me. And she did. Immediately.
You know, the deep down you someone that she would reach out to. Congratulations. Free, willing, and coachable. Let's give her a round of applause as well. Being hungry, being willing, being coachable. These are the things we're asking our team to be. So as you're talking to your team right now, we talked about Eric's ability to train. Now imagine Eric was your team trainer for a moment. He's training your team. He's getting on a call with them once a week, teaching them the things they need based on the level they're at. Let's see, maybe they need mindset. Maybe they need recruiting. Maybe they need to understand how to duplicate more. Eric is now the trainer on your team. Can you imagine that? Can you visualize it? What does that do for your business? Oh, wait, what did you say? That wasn't loud enough. One more time. Boom! Right? That's right. Eric's ability to train is going to create a duplication model in your business. When we involve Eric in that process and we go from being the main cog in the wheel, focused on everything, being the one that's driving the team, being the one that's got the behaviors, being the one that's got the habits, when Eric can come in, he has a different perspective. He has a different layer that he can bring to the table. Now, at the corporate CEO summit, he showed the layer of understanding the corporate side. He's also been an owner. Did you know that? Eric's also been an owner. He's been in the field. He's got 35, almost 36 years now of experience in this. Do you think he needs you to be in his masterminds? Do you think he needs you to go through his trainings for him to continue to have his success? The value of what Eric has is that he's detached from the needs really of anything. Look at the success that he's been able to have. But what Eric is attached to that I've learned is impact. He woke up this morning, he's like, I want to give value. And I said, what does that mean? He's like, we're going to bring in more value. We're going to let more people get learned. I was like, okay, this is what you want to do. He wants to pour into others. Just like you want to pour into your team, he wants to be right next to you to do that. Now, for those individuals that you just texted, I see you still reaching out to these people. These individuals that you're reaching out to, define them ones or twos. If someone is missing those fundamentals that they need in order to move forward, the Breakthrough Bootcamp allows Eric to step into their home on a weekly basis and be that accountability. Now, when someone is involved and they get their team involved in this boot camp, Eric is now the trainer on the team, aren't they? Isn't he? Look at the value there. So when Eric said, Robbie, this Breakthrough Boot Camp, we've had a great response. We want to involve more and more. He says, we're going to go ahead and let more people get the mindset to build towards that recruiting level, to understand duplication. And as Eric has, allowed that training to now be you want to have your team get this as well. He's literally doubled his ability to put his skills and mindset, his ability to change the way people think and rewire their brain, he's putting that right in to your team. Look at what that does long term. Put yourself 5 years from now. We talked about where am I at 5 years from now? I talked about that a little bit the other day. Well, 5 years from now, if you were to help your team get started in a 21-week program with Eric, what does your business look like when you start involving your team in those good behaviors? So each and every one of those individuals you just reached out to, if they're a 1 and they're looking for those, the mindset and the recruiting and duplication, let them know, hey, just so you know, right now I'm at GoPro. And at GoPro, they've got an opportunity for anyone that wants to learn the fundamental skills of mindset, recruiting, and duplication. I would love for you to get involved. Here's a link. www.goprobreakthrough.com. Let them know this is an opportunity for them. And you say there is a fast acting bonus. When you get started now, you can put someone on your team in there. Those individuals that are on your team right now, do they also have people that need training? I didn't hear you. When those individuals on your team, do they also have people on their team that need training? What do you think? Yes. Absolutely they do. And when you've got a team that needs training, well, Eric can now help you push deeper into that organization. So when you get that type of help at that level, we're bound to move forward. Eric talked about the good behaviors. He wrote down a list of things that were over the line and under the line. Why is it easier to stay? Why is it easier to go? We put that all up. So we look at these reasons why it's easier for people to stay. If someone goes through a boot camp with Eric for 21 weeks, is it going to be a whole lot easier for them to say out loud no or yes? Absolutely. You want your team to stay? Encourage good behaviors. You heard Fraser Brooks up here saying Beyond Leadership was the most important pivotal moment for me at the time that I took it. You heard everyone who has been through Beyond Leadership talking about what they've done up here saying, this is the turning point. This was the pivot point. This is where I got the systems, the processes, and the ability to lead leaders. That's what Beyond Leadership is about. So for the 2s that you just reached out to, and you're saying, hey, I know you've got leadership skills. I know you're hungry. I'm going to Vegas for Beyond Leadership. And Eric just told me I can bring someone with me. Couple of ideas here. Is there an incentive program that you might be able to throw out to your team to say, hey, I want to bring someone to Vegas. Come to Beyond Leadership with me. We're going to be there. We're going to be in the room. Let's see this one by raising hands. You're going to have to let one hand go with that phone for just a minute. How many of you by raise a hand would love to have one of your team members with you at Beyond Leadership? Raise your hands nice and high. Keep them up. Okay. You want to bring your teammate along. You get started today. And we don't wait, because if it doesn't happen now, when does it happen? Never. We know that. We're well aware of that. You got to strike while the iron's hot. We're here in Vegas. I'll tell you the #1 thing I've learned from 5,000 events. You ready? Always link events. Never leave an event without knowing exactly where the next event is. So that you're promoting to it, so you're aware of it, and so that you have a plan. I talked to Flex backstage. Does anyone know who Flex is? 7-time Mr. Olympia. He was backstage. Eric has the deepest playbook ever of people. Like, people just keep scrolling back through Grammy winners and stuff. You got to learn how to get backstage. That's what happens when you're on a panel, your next level mastermind. You get backstage.